It's the weekend.
Warriors,
Warriors, come on to play.
Yeah, here we go.
Good NFL Sunday morning, everybody. We're broadcasting live from the Weekend Warriors studios in beautiful Peoria, Arizona. I'm Rob Romano, alongside my partner in crime, the legend, Neil Lynch. And he's alongside his partner in crime, the non-legend, Philip Amaron.
What are you talking about?
No, he's a legend. He's legendary.
I was going to say.
And this is the Weekend Warriors NFL Sunday edition, week number 7. Can't believe week number 7.
Ooh,
What are we doing in week number 7
It's
already?
like almost halfway through the season.
Just about.
Yeah.
One more week, and then since it's 17 games now, 8-9 is.
Well, let's get back to this legendary thing.
Yeah,
okay?
I'm the legend in curdling.
This
Is
guy,
that what it is?
this guy has more experience in media and stuff than you and I combined.
This
And
is true.
He doesn't rate what's above legend? God, demigod.
Yeah, I think somewhere like Mount Rushmore.
See,
Mount
exactly.
Rushmore.
That's what I'm talking about. Anyway,
Are we good with the legend thing?
well, I had,
So what should
I had
I
to
call
get
him from now on?
I had to get off the Mount Rushmore of. I don't know. Never mind. Just call him
Yeah.
a legend. Just call him the legend.
Is that what you
Just
want to be
call
a
me-
legend?
Yeah, why not?
Call me
yeah.
the sh-
All right.
The legend in making.
This is how legends are
I'll
made.
tell you what. Let me talk to your ex-girlfriend and see what she calls you, and then we'll call you that.
Yeah.
Snap.
That's not too
All
good.
right. So as we move on, you can talk to my wife. She'll give you names too.
Mm-hmm.
We won't talk about what just happened. Anyway, look back. Week 6. I don't want to look at week 6. You know what I want to look at? I want to look at Thursday night.
Well, hang on. I want to look at week 6 only because.
Oh gosh, I don't want to talk about this. Go ahead.
What do you want? What am I going to talk about?
I thought you're not talking about your picks. That's later. You're going to gloat about that.
Oh no, I'll gloat about that. No, I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
do you want to gloat about your picks or gloat about Ralph's picks? Which picks do you
Oh
want to
no,
gloat about?
I'm a very positive person. No. I from 2 weeks ago, the only thing I wanted to call out was the fact that Aaron Rodgers has now officially turned his team into Green Bay East. So because
We're going to talk about that.
He got rid of Robert. Is it Sala?
Yeah, that's
Sala?
Sala.
Sala?
Sala.
It's now Sia, is what it is.
Robert Sia.
Robert C. Yeah, Robert not going to be here anymore anyway. So yeah, that whole thing was funny. It's not unprecedented for a coach to get fired mid-season, and there is a trend.
But at a 2-3?
Oh no, I understand that, and I'm building up to that. Right?
Okay.
It's not unheard of. It's also not unheard of for coaches to get fired after the London game for some strange reason. But to your point, he was 2 and he was
2 and
he
3.
wasn't that bad.
Yeah, usually best off that we usually go is 1-4, maybe 1-3. I mean, we've even seen like 1-1, like at a time, but 2-3 and not having lost control of the locker room. Like I didn't. You don't go out there and see like Raiders who have just completely just lollygagged their way through the second half of like at least 2 games where
Yes,
you've seen them
exactly.
give up. That was not the case, and plus his side of the ball actually was positively working the night that he got fired off of the game that he got fired
Yeah,
off.
it's just,
crazy.
It's Aaron Rodgers doing Aaron Rodgers things. It seems like.
Yeah.
Now that's the thing. We don't have definitive proof that that's what happened, but it's like where there's smoke, there's fire. There's plenty of rumors about it, and everybody knows Aaron Rodgers' personality and the fact that he's he wants to basically run the franchise from the quarterback's position, like the whole thing.
So you think this was all him?
I think he had a lot to do with it, yes.
Okay.
And he probably had some complicit people in the organization as well. But when was the last time you heard a coach getting escorted off of his own property with
By security
Yeah.
and not able to address his team before it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so anyway, something's up. But, whatever. The fact is, it's reunited and it feels so good. Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. They're still gonna stink, but I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yes, you have to involve the hamstring somehow.
I was his Achilles, yes. Yeah. All right.
I mean, since you went there, I'm just going to go there because I
Thank
was going to do this later anyway. But
Well, it's too much fun now.
so there were the 2 big trades, right? Last week was Devontae Adams to the Jets and Amari Cooper to the Bills,
Yes.
right? Which one will have more impact and why? What do you guys think? I'm really curious.
Right now, it's going to be Devontae Adams. For season long and actual postseason berth, that's going to be Amari Cooper. That's how I boil it down.
I agree 100%.
I cannot find any fault in that.
Yeah,
I agree.
You look at both situations. Amari Cooper, so for both situations, Devontae Adams has familiarity not only with the quarterback, with the system, with what they're going to be calling and what they're going to be playing. Because Aaron Rodgers is a very well tenured quarterback who wants it how he wants it, and can now be like, wink, wink. Oh, the double wink means that I do a hot go route, all this stuff. But and Amari Cooper has no familiarity. Usually doesn't do well indoors if you look at his home road splits, and he's been stuck in Cleveland for a while. So it's like, would I rather have him be in Cleveland, or would you rather go to the Bills? Well, in this particular case, I'll go to the Bills.
Yeah.
So he has to get a familiarity, but once he does, that having somebody to at least have the defense respect and draw attention to, outside of Khalil Shakir, who you love. I have him on my fantasy lineups. He's great.
Yes.
But to have him not be your number one option and everybody else just be a combined 1B, I think is absolutely ups the ceiling for what this Bills team can do, more so than just being a division winner.
And Coleman's going to learn from him too.
I agreed. I think he's a great example.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was a great trade. Think about it. I think they got more value trading Cooper, the Browns did, than what they paid for to get him from the Cowboys.
Oh, yeah. Jerry Jones over here touting, nobody can do this. Nobody can do this general manager thing better than I can. 2 years later, gets the same player at an older age. He traded him away for a 5th-round draft pick. Now the Browns got him for a 3rd and a 6th.
That's crazy. And Cooper was really playing well in Dallas. Remember, he was like one of the best in the league.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think Jerry Jones has his touch anymore. I think
so
the Cowboy
You're
way
saying
is
he's out
different.
of touch?
Out of touch.
Okay, so I was going to bring it up later, but since you went there, we might as well just say it. So we did.
What, that I'm awesome? Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
that's
you.
what it
I
is.
appreciate
You're a
that.
legend.
So go back to Thursday night. Let's talk about your Broncos Thursday night.
Yeah, God.
What happened?
What do you mean? What happened? We put
happened?
a mollywhopping on those Saints down in.
Oh my!
A molly.
I think you want to talk about Mount Rushmore? Mount Rushmore of petty. Sean Payton, man.
Oh, 100%.
Is there a head coach? Well, okay, Nick Sirianni. Him and Sean Payton are the two pettiest coaches.
Hang on. You should, after this week, last week, you should include Dan Campbell in the conversation.
Yeah, but the hook and ladders.
Yeah, but let's talk about what Sean Payton first.
Absolutely. No, Sean Payton just took it to town, brought out every ounce, talking about squeezing out the pulp of an orange juice. He took out every offensive wit and scheme that he could possibly do to make Bo Nix viable, and said, you know what, this is going to be our one time that we're not going to run the ball and just go it up there. Javonte Williams also, God bless you, Javonte Williams also got a 2 touchdown performance for once. He valued, and he looks like that promising running back. I loved it. Loved every ounce of it. My goodness.
So is Denver are they a competitor? Are they going to the playoffs? Are they a playoff competitive team?
You know what? It's okay. This upcoming week, they're going to. I think they're going to Carolina. That's a W.
That's
it
a win,
should
yeah.
be. It needs to be.
Should be.
Beyond that, I don't know. The next 3 weeks following that are going to be incredibly telling because they face off. I forget the order, but Ravens, Chiefs, and I think the Chiefs again. It's an insane lineup. They've got 2 more Chiefs games in the entire rest of the year, but you got them at the end of the year, I think. So I guess it's not going to be the next 3. But they're and Falcons. Falcons are the 3rd one. So we'll see after that stretch. That stretch is going to be very, very indicative. And guys, I don't think I'm going to be picking them for the next 3 games.
Interesting.
Wimp.
We're keeping the jinx alive.
I like it.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I've never thought the Broncos would be in a position. They're 4-3. What, they get 4-3? They'll be 5-3 after next week.
Heading into the season, they had a 4.5 win total attached to them.
Wow.
They already have 4. They're nothing but up, baby. It's all the way up.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing with house money now.
Absolutely.
That's
right.
Cool. All right.
Hope y'all took the over on
Was
that.
there anything in week 6 that you guys wanted to bring up other than what you already did?
Well, the fact that I'm awesome.
We'll talk about picks later. But yeah.
Okay, never mind. That's all. That's all I have.
That's all you want to talk
That's all I
about?
want
Just
to
want
talk
to talk about
about.
yourself?
Of course.
All right.
Duh. What do you think
good.
I'm here for? Talk about football. Whatever. Football. Professional football.
Can we talk about the Seahawks last week?
Oh, of course.
You don't want to talk about them the
Seahawks.
week before when they lost to the Giants? Was that's the week that where none of us could come up with a viable reason why the Giants should ever win?
Yes.
Do I remember correctly? Did Ralph say a 2 touchdown game, or
I
did he
think he
say
did.
3?
I think-
Where did we
I
land?
said 2.
Ralph probably said 4.
Yeah,
The way
2
Ralph is.
touchdown game win against the Giants, and the Giants they covered.
Yes.
Did they? Oh wait, they won.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, so-
That's what I'm looking at here on the
Yeah,
old
exactly.
computer.
Look, the defense sucks right now. Everybody's hurt.
Their defensive line is
Their
decimated.
line is hurt. Now they've got Reek Woolen's out, which is killing them. Last week, not having Reek Woolen, you saw the impact of it. They were throwing on them all on that side. They focused on that side. They stood away from Witherspoon, and they ate him for lunch. And that was the big difference, in my opinion. And Geno's moving the ball great, but they're just not putting it in the end zone. I don't know what the deal is there, but anyway, it's disappointing, that defense. And they've got, it seems like every week we put 2 people on the IR. So there's a couple more that went on the IR this week. So it's not going to be pretty this week either.
So as a Dodgers fan, Ralph is used to talking about putting people on the IR constantly.
Yeah, I mean, it gave me practice.
Yeah, how many pitchers are on the IR for the Seahawks too? It's like, good grief.
Yeah, this.
Anyway.
We'll talk about the picks this week, but I'm not happy. Were there any surprises for you in week 6?
I was surprised. Well, the Commanders are just surprising in general. They're
good.
They're proving themselves to be good. So I know that Keon is incredibly happy about that.
Yeah, is that not the best loss? You know, whenever you're doing the whole ranking of like, so if we're going on the inverse, the worst win in the NFL thus far kind of feels like the Eagles over the Browns, where it's like you barely won and you're telling off your own
Right.
fans. That's like
Sirianni is a joke.
Yeah, what are you peacocking about over there? But if we're talking about the best losses in the NFL, that Commanders loss to the Ravens actually felt great. I was like, that's a great looking loss. I know
Yeah.
you're not supposed to be out there touting over losing, but you're talking about 2 MVP candidates on the other side with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
Your defense kind of held up. They flummoxed Lamar Jackson a little bit early, and then they always kind of had to. They always looked like they had control, but it certainly was respectable. And Jaden Daniels, even though he wasn't like out of this world amazing, still looked
Yes.
poised, still didn't look ruffled. I very much was reaffirmed in my belief that the Washington Commanders will win that division off of a very solid loss. Now, you want to go on the opposite side of that in that same division? Talking
ahead.
about hook
Go
and
ahead.
ladders?
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Detroit Lions just absolutely emptied the kitchen sink. They
Yeah, they
they
did.
were so disrespectful
Oh,
and just
it's
how much
complete-
they enjoyed it.
And it wasn't just to the Cowboys. They were disrespectful to the refs. 'Cause
Yes.
They kept, and I apologize, I know the lineman, I forget his name, but they kept putting him in and having him eligible like constantly. They even put him
Checking
as,
in. I am,
they
I
put
am
him as
eligible.
Yeah, they put him as eligible at the end of the game when they took a knee. Like, that's how petty Dan Campbell was about that. So good for him. He joins the petty club along with Sean Payton.
Yeah. So here's what I was impressed with is Caleb Williams. Did you guys watch his game?
Yes.
4 touchdowns. He had 124 on 4 quarterback rating. He was 23 of 29, 226 yards. He almost had his 5th touchdown. He came out, and I think he ran for, what, was it 56 yards also on top of that. That was his coming out
Yes.
party. He's been getting better every week,
His debutant, his quinceañera.
And I
if you
get
will.
it. It was against a Jacksonville secondary that is probably it's the worst in the NFL.
You got to start somewhere, though.
But you can look at today, and Drake May is not having the success that Caleb had
Correct.
last week.
You got to start. You got to start somewhere. Absolutely.
Right. So I mean, Caleb's been getting better every week, and this was coming out party. We'll see how he does moving forward. I know they're not playing this week, but I was really impressed with Caleb. He showed a lot of what he's going to be, in my opinion.
Speaking of the NFC North, it's the only division in football where everybody has a winning record. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if all 4 of those teams somehow make the playoffs?
We flirted with that idea in the AFC West. I think it was 2 years ago when you looked at all the quarterbacks, and at the time, heading into the season, you were very impressed with Patrick Mahomes, Derek Carr. It was Russell Wilson and Justin Herbert. You thought that it was an incredible division, but this year we're following up on that promise with the NFC North. It's incredible.
Yeah. Now, obviously, it's going to change, but
Because they have to play each other. Like
Right.
there's only been
Yeah.
one division game in there.
yeah, the Packers
Yes.
are technically last in the division right now. But literally,
4-2.
yeah, there's 2 teams at 4-2, and you can't. The Lions had a bye week, so that's uneven, and the Vikings are 5-0, which I will talk about the Vikings when we talk about our picks.
Okay.
But yeah, no, that to me is a huge surprise that the NFC North is so damn good right now.
Well, I mean, the Seahawks are in first place at 3-3.
Yeah, and listen. I already said this. I think before. I'm already getting ready to. I'm setting aside my savings to pay for dinner at Arrowhead Grill.
You might not have to.
Because I bet they were going to finish last.
Oh, that's true. And the Rams are 1-4.
wow,
So
you offered yourself no wiggle room, man.
0. Oh,
Yeah.
listen,
that's what he does, though. He doesn't like to wiggle.
I don't like to. That's true. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Right. Oh, that's so great. I always think of that Zelda parody of that song. Because you know how to shake that big clay pot.
Oh.
Jiggle, jiggle, jiggle.
Wow. I do not get that algorithm.
Okay, well, you're not a nerd like I am, so there you go.
Moving forward. So we got the game going on right now in London. You got the Jaguars are up 22-10 in the third quarter. New England is driving. No, they're at second and goal on the New England. Are they second and goal at the 7? Oh, no, Jaguars are second and goal at the 7. I'm sorry. Third and goal at the 3. So the Jaguars are looking to add to their lead. So they're up 22-10 right now.
So hear me out.
I did pick the Jaguars, by the way. Just want to put that out
Did you
there.
really?
Yes.
Hear me out. I think this is a perfect game for London. Because you have New England, okay? So it's like this England name. And then you have Jaguars, which, of course, you know they're saying they're pronouncing it the Jaguars.
Jaguars.
The Jaguars and the England and the other England.
You're forgetting to stir your tea.
The colonies and the Jaguars are in a contest of American football. I can go all day doing this.
What do you guys think of Drake May? He looked pretty good last week against Houston's defense. I was impressed with him. And then today, I mean, he's okay. He's 13 of 18 for 108 yards.
Well, keep in
Got a
mind that,
touchdown.
that part of that score is the punt return for a touchdown, which alters the score otherwise. But it's been a 10-0 game, or sorry, it's been a 7-0 game, and then now it was supposed to be a 10-7 game. So he's doing fine. He certainly, we're talking about elevating a ceiling. He certainly elevates the ceiling of what that specifically New England's Patriots offense could do, because Jacoby Brissett was just a statue back there, and their offensive line is not good enough to bolster their offense production from even what Jacoby Brissett can do. He just doesn't have much, if any, mobility left in him. So that you have Drake May and an ability to save himself, it certainly gives them some time to make the offense work.
Yeah, I think this is a good spot for him, right? There's no pressure on New England. They're not looking to win anything this year. He got to sit for a good part of the first season and just watch. And now he's in there. I thought he did really good against a great Houston defense last week. He threw, 243 yards. He had 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, which is typical for a rookie. But it wasn't a bad first start against a really good defense. So I think his ceiling is pretty high. A lot of people were poo-pooing him pretty bad during the draft, saying, oh, he's really not what we think he is.
Right.
I think he might wind up being one of the best out of this draft class. We'll see. I know Bo Nix is having his issues. I mean, but he looks so much better Thursday.
Yeah, and plus
he's got a high ceiling too.
Yeah, also his mobility works too. I mean, you saw in the beginning, in the first half of the New Orleans Saints, he wasn't able to pass, but what he wasn't able to do passing the ball, he was able to do rushing with the ball. And it's been highly impressive. You forgot about that because he didn't need to at Oregon, but he certainly did rush the ball when he was at Auburn.
And he leaves Oregon another number 2 in the country, so that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Probably going to go number 1 after yesterday.
That was a crazy win.
Texas lost. So.
Texas lost.
Well, that was a crazy win against they shut out Purdue.
Yeah, Purdue's terrible, though.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I mean, Purdue's 0-7, I think, or whatever they are. But anyway, so, okay, that's kind of looking back a little bit. Let's go forward here. We have to look at the Cardinals, first and foremost. So the Cardinals are playing Monday night against the Chargers.
Why didn't you have them as...
I know, I don't have them as a pick. We didn't do a pick.
What the heck?
I know, that's my mistake. We're going to pick them now, though, so you're going to have to rethink the game.
Are we going to add this? Oh,
we're going to add it, so it's going to be a 7th game.
I'm not rethinking anything, but go ahead.
We're going to add it as a 7th pick for our pick, so we're going to start with the Cardinals.
Okay.
This game is interesting, in my opinion. Cardinals have not looked great at all. They've been completely inconsistent, right? Kyler Murray is very inconsistent. The running game is up and down. The defense, they are what we thought they were.
That's right, and we didn't let them off the hook. Yeah, we thought they were. We need to play that clip.
I would like to hear from Phil. What do you think about the Cardinals? We could look at last week as well if you want, but what do you think about the Cardinals at this point and in this game?
I think that their offense is just so hot and cold, and that really speaks to the temperament of Kyler Murray. I think that it really, the offense goes as Kyler Murray goes. Any time that they've had a great offensive outpouring, you're like, oh, Kyler Murray was fantastic. Like there's nothing in this offense that is super impressive to you outside of Kyler Murray. That is maybe Marvin Harrison he has flashed here and there.
Flashed, yeah.
But that's about it. James Conner is is just sturdy. He's not going to be exemplary. He's not going to wow you with a Marshawn Lynch beast quake. He's not going to be all shifty jittery like Barry Sanders. Like he's just sturdy. You want a 1st and 10 3-yard run? Great, that's him. But you want a 3rd and 25 burst of speed? That's not him. He's going to get to 4th and 22. Like those 3 yards are all he's getting you. I don't know. Their offense specifically goes as Kyler Murray goes, and without Kyler Murray offering you any consistency, it's very hard to properly grade what this offense can do under an offensive coordinating shift that happened in the offseason. And if you want to talk defensively, Neil, I'm disappointed with that. The fact that their head coach has been so unable to, even just game-wise, from game to game, schematically, improve, a la maybe even like we look at the Washington Commanders, like they have a putrid defense, but I can still see their head coach being able to, Dan Quinn, be able to step in and at times get the most out of what that defense can muster. I never see that with the Cardinals.
I mean, Green Bay destroyed them last week.
Right.
I mean, we all thought they would.
How much of that was to weather, though? How much? I mean, because you were
You
watching
know
this
what? A minimal amount is weather, because the thing is, both teams have
Really?
to play in the weather. They
Yeah,
both
but Green
know.
Bay's used to that.
Yeah, they're used to that, but you're a professional. You have to figure out how to be used to it. Plus, two, everybody likes to blame the footing in Lambeau because they have that hybrid surface that's half grass, half synthetic that's kind of woven in. But here's the thing: everybody knows about it. Everybody understands to use the right cleats. Don't use your signature fancy molded cleats that you got an endorsement deal for. Use cleats that you can screw on longer spikes on the bottom. So, yeah, I don't think I think that's an excuse to me. But ultimately, they knew what they knew who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook or whatever you want to say. But yeah, that was I was a little surprised at how dominant the Packers were last week, but it also, to me, like you said, speaks to the inconsistency. And you talked about the defense score. That's the thing, is that great coordinators can hide or mask sometimes a lack of talent, right?
Yeah.
You scheme, you use your scheme and your process to overcome that. And yeah, you're right. I don't think that the Cardinals have demonstrated a consistency in that regard. So it's really a crapshoot, And I will say this, and this is me, because you know me, I'm such a dork about this stuff. We can pick October 7th if we want to look on the calendar and say, when did the Cardinals stop being good? When did they start struggling? Maybe it was October 7th, because you know why. October 7th is the day that Kyler Murray signed his partnership with Activision Call of Duty.
Oh, my God.
So yeah.
You would go there.
Of course I would. So, yeah.
I like what Kyler did last week as far as using McBride, finally.
Yeah, well, McBride
Yeah.
was out with the concussion for a while, and so
Yeah.
you can certainly see the impact he's had. He's probably the one aspect of this offense that you're like, okay, he's good outside of Kyler Murray and outside of everything else. He's astounding.
He needs to use him a lot.
Yes,
Because that's his guy, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I know that Harrison Jr. is going to be his guy. I get that, his deep ball guy,
And he's
all that.
shiny, yeah.
But the guy you're going to use over the middle, it's kind of like that. Like Russell Wilson had his. He had his slot. Gosh, I can't remember his
Well,
name.
he used to have Jimmy
Doug
Graham
Baldwin, but he
at
had
the
Doug
end. Yeah,
Baldwin.
Doug Baldwin, yeah.
Baldwin was his guy that he knew he can go to whenever he needed a catch, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to have that guy that you can go to no matter what when everything else breaks down. So
Matthew
that
Stafford,
could be his
Cooper
guy.
Kupp.
Exactly, Cooper Kupp. Those kinds of things. The guy Drew Brees had Graham.
Jimmy Graham.
Was
Yeah,
Graham was his guy. So you need that guy. So I was happy to see him finally, now that he's back, using him the way he should, and that was good. But this game was over after the first 3 drives, in my opinion. I mean, Green Bay
Yep.
just went up and down the field on that defense. That defense is bad. It's really bad. And they just dominated that defense. And Jordan Love was just having fun with them. I mean, it just looked between him and Josh Jacobs and what they were doing. It was just it was too easy in the first quarter. Just too easy. They got so far behind so quick. And at that point, it was like, okay. I mean, they tried to come back by halftime. They got that 10 points in the second quarter, but then they got nothing in the last half of the game. They did nothing. 3 points.
Yes.
They just looked like they were dominated. And Murray only got 14 yards rushing. Teams are containing Murray more and more. And I think that's the big deal as we look at this week against the Chargers. The Chargers defense has been very, very good. But now they've played, if you look at it, I think they've played Carolina, they've played Denver. Can't remember who else they played, but they've been pretty dominant on defense. And their job is going to be to keep Murray bottled up. And if they keep Murray bottled up, that just spells disaster for the Cardinals offense, in my opinion.
I agree. Although I will. Well, no, I'll go ahead with your because I'm going to do mine last because I'm going to be silly a little bit. But what your take on the Chargers as far as this week? I think y'all know where I'm going to pick.
Don't go after the heart attack thing.
Oh no, I wasn't going to do that.
Okay, I thought for sure you were.
No. Oh, you know what? I forgot about that.
Yeah, because it
so-
was a blip. It was a huge moment. So for those who don't know, the head coach of the Chargers, which Harbaugh? Jim.
Yeah, John's over in Baltimore.
John's in Baltimore. Okay, so there's two brothers in the NFL, but Jim Harbaugh is the current head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. Exited early in his game against the Broncos. So be it. But exited early because of a heart issue. I forget what it was specifically that they found. It was
like an arrhythmia, wasn't it?
Yeah, an arrhythmia, and came back eventually, finished out the game, and coached everything else. But it was serious enough to where even John back in Baltimore was doing a press conference after a win, and went to the side to go check up on his brother. Very serious, but luckily everything seems fine now.
That's good.
But yeah, no, I think heading into this game. Look, it is silly. It's interesting because one would look at the Green Bay rushing numbers and you say, well, that's nothing to really be worried about. But they didn't need to rush the ball. They literally did whatever they wanted. And Jordan Love throwing 4 touchdown passes against the secondary, it was just too easy. And so therefore they could just do style points. They could just say, here, let me throw you a lollipop and you a lollipop. Hey, Romeo Dobbs, you've been out, you've been whining here.
Everybody gets a touchdown.
Yeah, this is where we can make you right. This is where we can just throw you 2 touchdown passes, and this will quiet you down for the games that we really need you, but don't necessarily need to get production to you. Let's do that. So you've seen this Arizona Cardinals defense not be able to stop the run, which is I mean, against the Lions, against the Green Bay Packers, you've seen it time and time again. The Chargers want to run the ball. They want to. They for all practicality and purposes, they want to be that wishbone offense that you saw that just smokes down your gullet. That is just right down your schnoz. You're hitting the ball, you're throwing it, and all that stuff. So, anyways, the Chargers will have their way with this defense, and they're going to be able to do what they want. This is their easy game.
Yes, I think the Chargers offense is probably a little bit underrated right now, but. I mean, let's face it. Against the spread, the Chargers are 4-1 in the last 5 games, whatever that's worth. If you're a betting person, because the radio station that we're usually on is the Arizona's sports betting station. And the Chargers have won 5 of the last 6 meetings in this series. I realize that past performance doesn't indicate future potential, whatever. But yeah, I agree with you. I think this is going to be another embarrassment at home.
On a Monday night
for the air. Oh, it's gonna be. Hey, they're gonna be on the national
doubleheader.
They're gonna get embarrassed on the national stage.
So I got 2 things to say. Number one, I agree with you 100%. I think the Chargers are going to run the ball down their throats. Mm-hmm. That's what they're going to do. That's what Jim Harbaugh does, and I don't think the Cardinals can do anything about it. Nope. I just don't. And I think the defense will bottle up Murray because what will happen is they'll get down quick. And then he's going to have to throw, and then they're going to be all over him.
Yep.
I just don't see the Chargers. I mean, I don't see the Cardinals winning this game. If you look at Marvin Harrison, everybody was so pumped about him at the beginning of the year. He's had one great game that's been more than half his stats.
And he still might not even come back this game.
Right. He's still coming off he's coming off his concussion, so yeah. Right.
But he's been a rookie.
Yes.
He's been great in one game, and he's been mediocre in the rest. So, but does he have potential? Hell yeah, he's going to be a great receiver.
Yeah,
but you got to give the kid time. It takes a good year for a receiver to adjust to the speed of the game.
Exactly.
Except when you're playing the Rams secondary, that was terrible, which he had a career game in that game. But it was one game.
That was bad.
But anyway, he's not going to be the impact. I think Murray's going to have to really rely on McBride and rely on his feet and to do anything in this game. We'll see what happens. I take the Chargers. If you look at ticket prices for this game, everyone's dumping their Charger tickets, their Cardinal tickets.
Oh, let's look right now.
And they're selling Charger tickets pretty cheap. I know that I was offered 4 tickets and I turned them down because I'm not interested in going.
Yeah.
Why didn't you call me?
Too late.
Well, who's the fan that wants to come see this? You're the Cardinals fan who wants to see your head get beaten in and get a loss, or the non-existent Charger fan base that's going to travel all the way to Arizona, even a state away. They're like what?
Well,
Who's
that's what
the
the
Charger
Chargers
fan,
did. Didn't they hire that one lady to be an actor in the stands to pretend like she was a Chargers fan?
Yeah.
And
They don't have fans. They're all in San Diego.
That's true. Yeah,
And even
they
then,
are.
now they're hated. Now they just
Well,
love watching
now they're depressed.
We talk to our contacts in LA, and what do they always say? Chargers. No one watches them. No one cares.
Yeah.
And that's pretty
I
true.
would go. I just want just to go to an NFL game. I mean,
well.
there's something
good for you,
about
Neil.
that.
God
Good for
bless you.
you, Neil. Pat you on the head. You get a cookie. Anyway, yeah. Well,
You know what this is? This game, this Chargers Cardinals game. This is the Tennessee Titans versus Miami Dolphins game that was 2 weeks back. That whereas the doubleheader, and you're like, thank God it's a doubleheader because this game nobody's going to watch. But we're going to watch the Washington Commanders and Cincinnati Bengals game
Right.
because that's the more entertaining game. So you're like, thank God I'm not isolated to having to watch this Chargers Cardinals game that by no means it should be an isolated primetime game.
And I want to touch on that. You know, someone called it yesterday, the other day, Monday Night Midget Football. But anyway, what I want to touch in is why does the NFL keep putting 2 games on Monday? What is behind this? I don't understand this. Why are you putting 2 games on Monday night? I want to
the
see 1 game.
Chargers Cardinals game is exclusively on ESPN Plus, whereas the Ravens game will be on ESPN, ABC, and ESPN
So
Plus.
that is the game, but why did they throw the second game? I don't understand what they're doing this year. They usually only should do it on the first week.
I don't
and then you never saw
understand
it
either.
again.
Right? Yeah.
Now this is the 3rd time, right?
Well, you should get on the phone with your buddy.
Who's my buddy?
Your
I don't-
contacts.
What have you? You have contacts?
Don't you have
Yeah, but I don't
muckety
wear 'em
mucks on the
anymore.
line?
You call. Listen. You get on the phone. You have your secretary call Roger. Be like, "Yo, what's up, dude? What are you doing?"
I just don't understand why they're doing that. I mean, it used to annoy me on week 1. Now it's annoying me 3 times this year so far.
Well, it hasn't been us thus far. Luckily, in all the doubleheaders, it's not like you're looking at one game and saying, "Gosh, I'm losing my ability to watch both games," because again, they have a forgivable game that you have no interest
Yeah,
in.
I guess it's worked out in that reason, right? But
So according to Game Time, which we're not officially sponsoring, but if you want to send us some money, you go right ahead. According to the Game Time app,
Okay.
we're looking at the aftermarket or ticket prices for the Chargers Cardinals game, and the cheapest seats are $39.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, I did get a super deal highlighted on my phone. It's section 135, which is on
So
the
lower bowl.
Yeah, lower bowl. A couple of seats. And you know what the price is?
$100.
$69. Giggity. Yeah.
I think
$69.
what's happened is the Cardinal fans are already giving up.
Section 136, row 34.
I know that my
$69.
a guy that I work with is a huge Cardinal fan, has season seats. He has 8 season seats.
So he's the one.
He's the one. And he's already told me, I'm so frustrated going to these games and watching this team. I wish they would just put a good product on the field, and they just haven't done it in a long time. That's where the Cardinals' sentiment is right now. So it's a shame that they're already feeling that, but I get it. If I was a Cardinal fan, I would be pretty upset right now. I'd be like, why is Kyler Murray still on this team? Why aren't we drafting a defense to build this up? And I'd start questioning my offensive coordinator because I think he's an absolute joke. I know we had a guy on the show that said he was the next head coach somewhere else. That guy's an idiot. Because he's just a stupid blind fan. But I mean, the guy's a terrible offensive coordinator. He's just not any good. I know you challenged him on that too, which was a smart challenge. And we're just proving out now. That guy already, I think, needs to go. And honestly, Jonathan Gannon, I kind of like you, but the more I listen to you talk, the more I'm wondering if you're over your head. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, he might be over his head.
Well, what's the thing that the Cardinals are good at? Like you look at
Talking.
talking. The Washington Commanders, they're great at offense. They're great at rushing the ball. They're great at you can see a connection between Jane Daniels and Terry McLaurin. There's so many positives to have there. I see pieces that are good here with the
Right.
the Cardinals. I see where you're like, I kind of like Marvin Harrison.
I do.
I like
course.
I like Trey McBride.
I do too.
And like that's about it. I mean, like when you look at this,
I like James Conner.
but that's a softer.
He's
like,
a role player, but I like his role.
yeah, but I think ideally he'd be like your David Montgomery to
Yeah.
somebody else's like Thunder and Lightning.
Agreed.
A la the
He needs somebody with him.
Yeah,
He's not the
Right.
guy. He's not the feature guy.
No, exactly. So I look at this offense. I'm sorry. I look at this entire team and I say, where is it that I can see like, you know what, they can keep spamming that. They can keep doing that and rely on that. Whether it be on the defense, like, oh, we can't do much, but at least we can get pressure on the quarterback. Oh, we can't do much, but at least we can hold up in coverage. When we look at the offense, we can't do this, but at least when we know it's 3rd and 3, we can get a first down. Whenever it's a 1st and 10, we have a great deep ball connection, so that way we can do a Hail Mary. Like, where is the thing that they do exceptionally well that at least you can find an identity, that at least you can find something that you can hang your hat on and rely on? We look at your team over there in the NFC West, the Seattle Seahawks. At least you have an excuse. At least you can say,
Right.
our defensive personnel is just ravaged. And you know what? Even to that extent, we're number one still in the standings for our division.
Yes.
At least that. The
say
Cardinals,
much.
they're at the bottom. They have nothing to hang their hat on. They have no identity, offensively or defensively. They have a defensive head coach, so it's not like anything that is enviable for
Right.
other teams. When other teams look at this team, this is their bye week. This is their Raiders game. This is their time. This is their time that they can say easy W, and that's so depressing as a fan.
I don't disagree with you. I think you're 100% accurate.
You know what the Cardinals organization is good at? Disappointment and despair.
It sucks
The
for the
double D.
fans, though. It just
there
sucks.
and they're rated. Weren't they last year or the year before rated one of the worst organizations in football?
Yes,
like
by players.
like
Yes.
by players, right? Like you had to pay for things that other teams took care of.
Yep.
I don't know all the details of it, but yeah, I did remember that report. But that's stupid. To me, that shouldn't be the case, especially here, because the thing about this area, there's not a lack of money, right? I don't know if
Yeah.
the ownership. It's got to be something with the ownership. There's not a lack of resources, just a choice of how you do it. And there are plenty of teams that you would think are a lot worse than the Cardinals in that area. Like, nope, no, the Cardinals are the absolute worst, which is really sad. And like I've said this a couple times, and it's still said, is that Minnesota and Arizona, their professional sports organizations, have that same vibe. There's a lot of excitement around it, a lot of anticipation. The season starts about and sometimes they'll show signs of life, and then about halfway through, they just fall apart. Or they fall apart at the end, like the Minnesota Twins did. Oh, by the way, the Twins and the Diamondbacks, from a baseball example, both did the same thing. They both were promising. They were in the wild card hunt, and then they fell off. That is a typical sports experience, and I understand why Arizona fans get a little. I don't blame them for being cynical and being upset, and the ticket price is dropping. Because why would you go to that? That's horrific.
Everyone blamed, myself included, Cliff Kingsbury for being the reason they were so bad.
Yeah,
right.
I did
We all
too. That's what I thought.
I don't know if you did, but I absolutely
Yeah.
did. I look at him now with Jaden Daniels going, this guy's doing a hell of a job with that offense, and he's got a great quarterback, a young quarterback. I mean, they're actually, think about where they were a year ago and what they are today.
I think it's a really nice marriage between the two. But
exactly.
go ahead.
I agree with you. I think it's a nice marriage. I think he was being the nice guy and not saying Kyler Murray's terrible and needs to go.
That I can agree with, yes.
Right? So he kept his mouth shut and realized he was in a no-win situation with Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is the most overrated quarterback coming out of college. He's done a terrible job, in my opinion, in the 6 years he's been here, and he needs to go. What did they do? They give him a ton of money 2 years ago. Yeah. And they put themselves in a position where they can't even move the guy. Why would you do that? That's terrible. Terrible.
Terrible?
And they put him in this
Terrible.
position now where they're probably stuck with him for one more year because of all the dead money. Maybe they can get rid of him next year. Most likely they're stuck with him one more year. And if I'm Jonathan Gannon, I'm looking and going, this guy needs to go. They could have been in a position last year to draft one of these quarterbacks that came out. They could have had Jaden Daniels. They could have had Caleb
Drake
Williams.
May.
They could have had Drake May. They could have had Bo Nix. Any one of those options to me would have been better than where you are today. Because all those guys, the ceiling is really high.
Would you want Kyler Murray over Bo Nix?
Yeah, because I think Bo Nix's ceiling is higher than Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray has hit the ceiling and he's done. What has he ever done? He fizzles out at the end of every season. This year he's been completely inconsistent. He makes bad decisions throwing the ball. He can't see over. I'm not trying to be funny, but he can't see over the offensive line, and it hurts him.
You know why the Cardinals gave him that extension? Because they are terrified of Geno. They are terrified of the Geno Smith thing where a quarterback like Kyler Murray, incredibly talented, you can't take that away from him, and skilled, and skilled in that he has a skill that he can do with his shiftiness and everything else. I think they are petrified that they give up on him and then he goes somewhere else, and that cutting of him matures him. That's like what hardens him and hones him and his mindset to actually settle down and become a professional, and then he becomes exceptional like a Steve Young elsewhere, and he becomes known elsewhere, and they are terrified that that's going to happen to them. That's why.
But
that's
his
my
speed
understanding.
will diminish as he continues to get older.
Agreed.
And that is his game, right?
That
You
is a
can't
big
overcome
majority.
the fact that he's just too darn small back there. That hurts him. And he just makes, and he's been doing this for 6 years, he makes really bad decisions.
Also, he looks like to me like a younger version of Russell Wilson, in that I've never understood why the Arizona Cardinals haven't spent more on like they used to have like a John Brown, a Smokey Brown, who could take the top off of defense, and they've never seemingly to me invested in efficiently enough in a piece for him, for Kyler Murray, who throws a beautiful deep ball.
He does.
He throws a beautiful deep ball. And I
somebody.
very rarely do I ever see a burner on this team where I say, oh, they can go get it. Maybe Hollywood Brown, but he was so injured, and so
Yeah.
I'd say like you'd hope that you can get somebody better than him. Maybe look at like an Xavier Worthy, and whenever you're just saying get this guy a burner, so somebody that he can utilize. One of the few skills that you can look at and say, oh, he is great at that. Especially because you can see downfield much easier than you can see directly.
Like a
down the
Randy
middle.
Moss type, where you just haul it up there and he'll figure out how to catch it.
So I think that's who Marvin Harrison is down the road.
Yeah, not now. So what this sounds like it's leading to, and I'll stop bashing on the Cardinals after this, but everything you hear, the coaches that go through, you think they're the problem. It turns out that they probably aren't. We keep hanging on to people. What does this all point to? Ownership, right?
Agreed.
So
100%.
There was an article on ESPN last November. The title of it was "Miserable to People. Former Cardinals employees describe life under owner Michael Bidwell." So maybe, just maybe, throwing it out there, maybe the ownership is the problem. So
I think it is.
Is it too early to start a sell the team chant?
I don't think he'll ever sell the team.
Yeah, I mean, you need something else to go.
We
with
need to
it.
start a grassroots effort to get Cardinals fans to show up to the games just to hold sell the team signs.
Do you? Well, okay. Here's my question. Do you think, because in some markets, if for whatever reason the Rams were to suddenly have a boycotting fan base to where they wouldn't go to the game because they demanded better things, they almost had that built in because of just how diversified the LA sports world is,
Right.
where if you're not good, you're going to be forgotten and left behind. So they always have that urgency to get better. Do you think that the Arizona Cardinals are in a place where if the fan base were to demand better by not going to games, by giving up their season tickets, by not attending the games, to where organizationally they would say, we need to do better, it would encourage them to do better? Or is Arizona either in fan base or in just pure marketplace, is it a good enough position to where they won't move the team?
No, they would bail.
They
would bail
That's
100%.
that's my worry.
They
100%.
would be the Coyotes. They would bail to a better situation
Yeah.
because there's cities that want teams that'll put a lot of money out there for it, and they would bail.
Yeah.
So that's not the answer.
Yeah, but
Other than that, I see no way to get better ownership.
Unless you can find some dirt on them and and put pressure on them.
Well, here's the thing.
Jerry
And let's be
Richardson
honest.
situation.
Tell me the last time that a grassroots or plan to get rid of an owner. When was the last time that ever worked?
LA Clippers. That's about it.
Washington Commanders probably. There was a grassroots effort to get rid of him, and then stuff came out about him.
Yeah, but they tried for years on
They
that
did.
one.
That was
they
a long
tried
time.
for years. It wasn't until the other owners got behind him and were like, "What are you doing, blackmailing us? Hold up, hold
Yeah.
up, get out of here."
Yeah, they don't. If it doesn't affect the other owners, they don't care. But as soon as it starts affecting them, we have to take care
Well, in
of this
Seattle,
problem.
they had a grassroots effort because the previous owner before Paul Allen was trying to move him to LA. Remember, he actually put everything on trucks
yeah.
and started driving down to LA, and that didn't happen. And then the fan base was like, "This guy needs to go," and he sold the team. So they got rid of him. That was a great move for Seattle.
Jerry Richardson is another one, but again, there was a little something extra for the Carolina Panthers. There was a little something.
Okay. Well.
It's tough to move him, get rid of an owner. It's really tough.
I know. Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Unless you got
absolutely.
dirt on him, he ain't going anywhere.
Unless you're an NBA team or you got dirt on them,
But
they're not.
I
gonna
think
sell.
that's been Arizona sports' problem for years. I mean, if you look at all the sports in Arizona, the ownership's terrible. The only one that now, the newer one for the Suns, has potential because he's got a lot of money and a lot of enthusiasm. His big problem is he still thinks that he can make all decisions that he shouldn't be making.
Yeah. There's that.
He needs to step back and let the right people do it, and they'll be okay. But there's always been an ownership problem in this city, and it's affected the Diamondbacks. It's affected the Cardinals. We've seen with the Coyotes. It's unfortunate, but it's a trend here.
So, and the other thing too is that if you think about it, obviously this is a long-term, thing to contemplate, but you can only move franchises so many times, right? Eventually, the threat of moving to another city is going to be a hollow threat,
Right.
Because you can only move so many times. And I think cities and counties and states are starting to understand what a boondoggle it is to say, well, if we move this team, it's going to produce all this economic growth, right? We've found time and time again that it never works as well as they say it does. In fact, it sometimes has a lot more negative consequences. Plus, you're fleecing the taxpayers to pay for a bunch of billionaires who could pay for their own stadium. Like for example, I'll pick on my favorite, SoFi Stadium. that was all, and that was Greinke. They paid for most of that, right?
they did.
The city obviously did some things with infrastructure, whatever, but the city, and that was one of the rules that one of the good things that California does these days, and you and I are both originally from California, and that I hate saying that, but it's true. One of the few things they do well is they said taxpayers aren't paying for this new stadium.
Yeah,
you got to do this yourself. And he's like, okay, and he gets to reap all the economic benefit from it,
exactly,
which is fine. But he also gets all the risk. Yeah. So that's a perfect situation. And the other thing is these, and like the whole thing with, and I'm talking about Arizona sports teams, right? Like the hockey team moving, and now of course the Diamondbacks are saber rattling that they're going to move if they don't get their way. And it's like, you know what? Here's the thing too. Unfortunately, this fan base here in the valley, I'll call it, right? They're so jaded that I don't know. I mean, yeah, they might just be like, yeah, whatever, go ahead and go. We don't care. You're right. I don't think a sell the team movement would work because they don't care enough.
Well, you have your base fans that love the Cardinals. I mean,
well, you have
just like the Coyotes. Same thing.
You have your lifelong Arizonans, your natives from here, who are actually true fans. Which unfortunately there aren't that many of them. Right?
I feel bad for them. I really do. They've had a rough go at it. I mean, if I was born and raised here and these are my teams, I would not be happy.
Yeah, exactly.
So thank God for LA.
I was going to say probably my generation is probably the best shot that they had at getting like a true blue blood, because by the time I came into my sportsdom, they had Kurt Warner. Larry Fitzgerald.
The Cardinals were relevant back then. Yeah,
and
that's fantastic.
That's about it. Like from Kurt Warner. Once Kurt Warner left, then we've had nothing till Kyler Murray, and then now you're like, okay, there's some promise, there's some hype here, and again we're back down to square one. It's very deflating.
So with all that, we're all taking the Chargers.
Absolutely, yeah.
I was literally thinking the same thing.
We've got like 15 minutes, and then we're going to have Scott Engel join us. So let's go through some picks now that we can get through.
Okay.
And if we need to clean it up afterwards, or after Scott, we'll do that.
Okay.
We'll do 20 minutes with Scott, and then we'll go into our picks and finish the show.
All right.
Because we went really long. But hey, this is an Arizona sports station, and we're talking Arizona sports. So, see, we're not angry at Arizona sports. We don't dislike Arizona sports. We're frustrated like you are, especially with ownership.
Exactly.
So give us some grace. Okay, so when I go back to look at the picks, the standings right now. So last week, even though we were off the air, we did have our picks. Phil and I both went 4-2, very respectable week.
Hey.
But Mr. Lynch went 6-0 because his wife did his picks. So when you look at the standings for the season, Phil, you're at 12-24,
Ayo.
33%. I am at 20-16, 56%, and Neil took the lead at 21-15, 58%. So that's where we stand right now. And let's go ahead and we'll break down some of these games. So 10 o'clock, you got the Seahawks in Atlanta. Seattle is 3-3, and they're obviously on a 3-game losing streak. They lost to the Niners last week, 36-24. Falcons are on a 3-game winning streak. They're 4-2 right now. They just beat Panthers 38-20. Seattle is without cornerback Trey Brown, Reek Willen, both are sidelined due to ankle injuries. Stone Forsythe is out right tackle, so they're down to their fourth right tackle, which is scary. The Falcons are missing linebacker Troy Anderson and Lorenzo Carter. They've been ruled out. Safety Justin Simmons is questionable with a hamstring, and right now Vegas has the Falcons favored by 3 points. Neil, what do you got?
I would take Seattle and the points. I think Seattle's going to win this game.
Yeah.
The reason why is because I'm, you know me, I'm not Mr. Stats, Mr. Delve into the stats and try to figure out stuff. I think from a motivation perspective, I think the Cardinals coming off of a win over the Panthers makes you soft, makes you flabby. You start thinking you can do things you can't do. You start thinking you can hit on women that are way out of your league, right? And I think that's what's going to happen with.
How dare you?
How dare you?
How dare you have confidence?
That's right.
You're a hideous buffoon.
I think Seattle is coming in with something to prove, and I think they beat him on their home turf. So if I were a betting person, I would take Seattle and points.
So Mr. Lynch is taking Seattle.
I am
What
taking
a
Seattle.
stance.
All right, Phil.
I like how I'm going next because I'm the only one who has a chance to surprise people here. I will go for the Falcons. I think that the Dirty Birds are, even though this is a desperation spot for the Seahawks, this is very much that they desperately do need to win this game. I'm still going to go with the Falcons, who have a weird claim and shot and pathway to the number 1 seed in the NFC, only because the NFC North, where we all have a lot of respect and think that an actually good team will arrive out of there, they're going to have to beat up on each other so much that I don't think it's going to be mathematically possible for any one of those teams to claim the number 1 spot. So the Falcons, in order to just somehow get the weird number 1 spot that nobody believes in, like the Atlanta Hawks have for many years back when they were in their heydays, I think that they take home this game. I think that they run it, that they will put a lot on the shoulders of their run game of Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. I think that the Atlanta Falcons at home hold stout and take this victory, much to Ralph's dismay.
So you believe in Cole's Cash then?
I do.
Cole's Cash, baby.
I don't even think it's about Cole's Cash.
Shocking.
Seattle's injuries on defense have decimated them. That's a really good defense in Seattle, and you saw that in the first couple of weeks, and then they all got hurt.
Yeah, they have no depth.
They can't stop the run. Even their depth is hurt. That's the problem.
Yeah,
they can't start the run with Reek out and with Reek out especially, and Trey Brown being out. That kills them in the middle part of the field. So Cole's Cash will have a good game. Seattle will put points up, though. Geno Smith is having a really good year. He's going to put points up. He's going to throw another pick because that's what he does. But he's going to throw a lot of points up there. Hopefully, he'll have 300-plus yards in this game. But this will be a high-scoring game. Take the over. If you're a betting person, I would take the over. But Seattle does not have a chance in hell to win this game. They will lose because they will get run on and thrown on all afternoon long. And that's just the bottom line. And I'm a huge Seattle fan, but right now with the injuries we have, we are not a good team. And we're going to lose this game, and it's unfortunate. We're a better team, but we're hurt. So I'm going to take Atlanta as well.
And also, you look,
Shocking.
You look at the Atlanta Falcons. The one thing that they do well on defense is they have a very, very good secondary. They cannot generate any pass rush, but they certainly can. And you know what Seattle's going to want to do? They're going to want to. I think Kenneth Walker's out this game, right?
He's questionable with an illness.
Yeah, questionable with an illness. I think that they're going to want to pass the ball, and that'll play right into what the Falcons want to do.
I think so too. Unfortunately, and I'm going to go watch it and be mad.
I'm standing firm. So when the Seahawks win,
I hope they do.
You can just text me and be like, Neil, I'm sorry.
I'll give you a big kiss. I really hope they win. I just don't think they will.
Okay, maybe not that much.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a kiss. All right.
Even if they lose, he'll still give you a kiss.
I'm hiding now.
Well, we'll do a triple kiss. All right. Anyway, I wanted to make him uncomfortable.
Neil's over here rooting for the tie, please.
Tie.
Okay, so in Green Bay, 10 o'clock game, we got the Packers hosting the Houston Texans. Packers are 4-2. They won their last 2 games, including that 34-13 victory over the Cardinals last week. Houston is 5-1. They're coming out. They're on a 3-game winning streak. They recently defeated the Patriots 41-21. As far as the Packers' injuries, looks like their cornerback Alexander is currently limited in practice due to a groin, and they have a defensive lineman that's not practicing because of an ankle. The Texans have a linebacker that's in concussion protocol, and their cornerback is expected to miss a second consecutive game. The Vegas odds were Packers are favored by 2.5 points. I'm not sure if they're still at that.
3 currently.
Is it 3 points now?
Yeah, currently.
Who do you got?
I'm gonna go with Neil's side over here. I think that the Packers are rearing into form. I think that they get to stay at home, and the Texans for the last few weeks have been itching to get a loss hung on them. If you look back at that Patriots game, I know nobody did. It was the corner of the TV game on the early slate of games. It was just buried. As much as a game can be buried, it was buried. But the Texans, they were actually pretty competitive in a back-and-forth game with the Patriots until the dam burst, until special teams, there was like a weird special teams play that led to a score. There was Joe Mixon was just going off, and he broke through for a few scores. That kind of really just made it far more lopsided than it actually truly was. I think that the Texans are going to feel the effects this game of missing Nico Collins, their leading wide receiver, who I think still, even going into this game, has a season high, leads the league in yards and receptions and all this stuff. So the Packers, I think, are the side here. It's up there for contention of best game of the week, but I think Packers.
All right, you go next because I get to go last on this one.
Okay.
Por favor.
Fandoms get to go last.
Thank you.
I'm kind of on the fence on this game. I think it can go either way. I like the way the Packers are playing. I think that since Jordan Love's come back, I mean, he's starting to feel it, and he looks a lot better. But I've got this thing about the Texans. I'm a Texans believer.
That's
I know
a
that
first.
They're 5-1. They're playing the tougher schedule this year, and they're doing it right. And this was the big test for them this year: is what would they do in this schedule? And so far, so good. I think they'll be able to run the ball against Green Bay. I think that's going to be key for them if they can run the ball, and I think they will be able to do that against this Green Bay defense. I think throwing will be a little tougher, especially with the corners and stuff. I'm gonna take Houston. I think Houston wins a squeaker. I think it's a field goal game, but I think they find a way to win. I know that's a tough pick, being in Green Bay. I'm sure it's going to be a nice, cool Sunday afternoon. I'm not sure what the weather is.
56 degrees with a slight drizzle.
Okay, so the ball could be a little bit wet. Maybe it'll be a little misty.
Weather.
I just think the Texans. I like the way they're playing. I like the defense. I just think they win this game really close.
Well, I think you're wrong, Ralph. So there you go. That's I got that out of the way.
And
Start
an
with.
encapsulation.
That's right.
You're wrong.
So I understand what you're saying about the Texans, but you got to remember they're going to the hollowed ground of Lambeau Field and its super slippery surface. So that should be interesting. And obviously, I think that the X factor in this for the Texans is Stephon Diggs. Why? Because he spent many, many years with the hated rivals of the Packers, the Minnesota Vikings, right?
That's right, yeah.
And he spent a lot of time carving up the Packers secondary back in those days. Different regime now, different personnel. He's going to come back. It's going to stir some memories with Stephon Diggs, and he's probably going to have a good game. So if the Packers defense, obviously, if they can be okay or reasonable against the run, and if they can contain Stephon Diggs, I think they win easily. I don't think it's going to be a blowout like last week. I do think the spread, obviously, you're giving 3 at home, so it's basically a pick 'em. So I think it's going to be a close game, but I think that the Green Bay Packers will sneak it out. There.
Okay. Can't argue.
You can, but you don't want to.
One more
'cause you'll
game.
be wrong.
One more game before we go to Scott. Let's look at the worst game of the day.
Please, for the love of
This is by
heavens.
far the worst game of the day. So we have the Raiders going into SoFi to play the Rams.
This is such a bad game.
So the Raiders are 2-4, coming off a 32-13 loss to the Steelers. The Rams are 1-4, and they had a bye last week. Let's keep that in mind. They had a bye last week, but before that, they suffered that loss to the Packers. The Raiders have all sorts of issues. Receivers that are hurt. The Rams are hoping to get Cooper Kupp back, is what I've heard. I don't know if he's coming back
He's
or not.
likely to be out this game.
Yeah,
This
he's
is
gonna
the
be out this
latest
game.
update.
So they were hoping, but
They
maybe
were
not.
hoping.
It's not
Yeah.
going to happen.
He's still going to go through pregame warm-ups.
I think that lineman Noteboom is back, or they're saying that he's expected to play. So that's a big gain for them because they've had that patchwork line. The Rams are a 7-point favorite over the Raiders. 7 points. So who do I have? I'm going to start with me. I have the Rams. I've been saying this all season. The Raiders are terrible. They're probably the worst, if not one of the worst teams in the NFL. I'm not a fan of the quarterback. I'm not a fan of the offense whatsoever. I do like a couple pieces of their defense, but overall it's very weak. I don't like their special teams. I don't like their coach. I don't like their uniforms. I don't like anything about them.
Amen.
You sound like the sheriff of Malibu from The Big Lebowski. I don't like your face. I don't like your kind. I don't like your stupid whatever.
Yeah, I don't think the Raiders are that good. I think this is a great game for the Rams coming off a bye to get a win, and this is an ideal position for the Rams in my opinion. So I think the Rams take this game. I don't think they blow them out or anything, but I think it's within a 7-point game. But the Rams win.
Okay, real quick. I was taking the Gardner gummies. I am no longer. They're wearing off. The Gardner gummies are wearing off. I'm not feeling it anymore.
Well, they're gone now. You got Aiden O'Connell gummies that are being there.
Yeah, I know. It's not good. So yeah, I'm just. Oh no, he kept saying jerk off in that movie. I don't like your jerk off face. I don't like your jerk off team. I don't like your jerk off fans. Yeah, this is a coin flip to me because they're both awful right now. But yeah, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna say let's ram it. And in the immortal words of Eric Dickerson, if you ram it just right, you can ram it all night.
Every word coming out of your mouth just is not good.
Let's ram it, and you know how to ram it.
Do you have a Rammy Whammy?
Look
Do
it
you
up.
remember those?
I don't remember those. That's so funny.
It's a towel that they had when they played the Steelers
Rammy
in the
Whammy.
Super Bowl. It was called the Rammy Whammy.
Well, because they had the terrible towel and the
yeah,
Rammy.
so they had to do something against a terrible towel,
that
so they had
was-
the whammy.
That was a good era for towels.
Oh my gosh,
I've got
yes.
towels. Who do you got?
Well, it is my opportunity to go opposite of you guys, and I won't. Oh my God, Ralph.
I thought you were.
Yeah.
I was about to throw up, man.
You totally did a
I
misdirection.
thought he was doing the Raiders. I'm like, are you kidding me, dude?
hey.
Do you need a Rammy Whammy? My God.
Yeah. Can you give me a Remy Wemmy?
Yeah, no, I will never give you a Rammy Whammy. The Rams are the side to pick here. The Raiders, I'm with you, Ralph. Horrible, just awful team, awful organization, awful wins. I mean, whatever you want to go with. There's no world where I want to pick against Sean McVay coming out of a bye. There's no world where I want to pick against the Rams, who are an offensive-driven team. There's no world where I want to pick on the Raiders to win. So I am Rams all day. We're all in the Ramley today.
Yes.
See, he said there's no world where. And what was the one that the movie was? That was the. What'd you just say? Then the movie, how did
Big
he say it?
Lebowski.
Yeah, what did he say?
Jerk off.
Jerk off. And I like the way he said it better instead of saying jerk
Well,
off.
of course you did. I'm quoting a movie, and you're over here sweating for I don't know whatever reason. I don't know what the. And it can't even hold your.
Well, I mean,
hold your
I thought he was
coffee
going to
in.
take the Raiders, and I couldn't handle that because he's smarter than that. Why
Could
don't
be
we
a
do
personal
this?
thing.
So while I'm doing this, let's go to the next game.
Okay.
And so what we're going to do let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Jets.
The
And this is the Sunday night game in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is 4-2, surprisingly, coming off a 28-21 victory over your Denver Broncos.
No.
No,
No.
No, 'cause we
no.
played the
What am I
Chargers.
saying?
Yeah, no,
You don't know what
against
you're
the
talking
Raiders.
about.
How
The Raiders,
dare
I'm
you?
sorry, I'm sorry.
How dare you mix that up, sir?
The Jets are 2-4.
Yes.
Not much to talk about injury here. The big point of this game right now is two things. Number one, Devontae Adams being with the Jets, and number two, Russell Wilson making his first start of the year.
Oh, is
So these are the big
no.
talking points about this game. So I think the Jets are currently favored by 1.5 points.
What's that?
2.5 as of right now.
As it went to 2.5. Wow, so it was 1.5.
Yeah.
So let's start with Phil.
Phil.
Well, of course, I would be remiss if I did not talk about the massive elephant in the room, which is.
I appreciate that.
No. No, there's
He's
an
not
even.
talking about you, Ralph.
No, Russell Wilson is slated to start this game against the New York Jets. I don't know who he knows, what skeletons in the closet he has. Speaking of Halloween,
Yes.
I have no idea what dirt he has on Mike Tomlin and what he's doing on his off time or something. But Russell Wilson, under no right, no reason, and no logical explanation, deserves to be starting for this game.
100% agree, and I think every Steelers fan would agree with you.
They are finding a way to lose this game and an otherwise winnable game. I think with Justin Fields that this is a true 50-50 game. With Russell Wilson,
Yes.
I would be shocked. I would
Yeah.
be surprised if the Steelers win this game, and that's a travesty because it's at home. It's against a dwindling New York Jets team that has every reason now to be on the upswing. Not only do they have the uptick of Devontae Adams coming in and booing what they otherwise have put on the field thus far at a 2-4 record.
Right.
But now with Russell Wilson, you have to think that defense is licking its chops. You have to think that defense is saying, "Oh, which quarterback would we rather prepare for?" They don't care that they have to prepare for two quarterbacks. What they care about is that, for the majority of this game, bare minimum, we have to play against Russell Wilson. Thank you.
Yeah,
Give that to
exactly.
me.
That was a huge favor. I agree. I think that Russell Wilson has some kind of blackmail on Mike Tomlin or maybe the owners of the Steelers to finagle that starting quarterback position. Yeah. I don't understand. Why don't you go with the hot hand, right? This is my rant, which I will not go into in depth, but we'll touch on it. My rant about the over-reliance on analytics in all sports. It started with baseball, and now it's creeping into everything else. But this feels like an analytics decision. Well, on paper, based on these criteria here in our supercomputer, like the bat computer with the little lights on it, and it spits out the card, Russell Wilson should start this game. No. You leave it with Justin Fields until he does something to merit being replaced. But, yeah, Broncos country is now Steelers country. Let's ride. I agree.
Steal.
And I also think that
Let's steal.
your analysis earlier, Phil, was correct. Is that this will not long term the Jets will be who they are, but in the short term, this Devontae Adams, we're going to have the what's the drug? Ashwagandha. I can never.
ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca. This is like the football equivalent of an ayahuasca hit. Is this game?
So are you with me in that the Steelers had a chance to win this?
Yes.
Prior to Russell Wilson, but now the Jets are your favorite. And
The Jets are absolutely my favorite.
And
Yeah,
would you be shocked and surprised if the Steelers won? Because I'm like, there's
Yes.
no world where I think that the Steelers
Yes.
win this game now.
So if the Steelers win, then clearly I was wrong about Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Or I don't have enough faith in the Steelers coordinators to game plan for it.
I'll tell you one thing: if the Steelers win this game, George Pickens had a day. George Pickens had a
yeah.
monster 100-yard reception, maybe a touchdown, maybe 2 or something. Because Russell Wilson, the only thing he can do better than Justin Fields is have, weirdly enough, with his height, have better sight of the entire field and like know where to throw the ball in theory. And also he's kind of like Kyler Murray, where he has a beautiful deep ball as well. He can
Yes.
still do that. That would be the only reason why I would have any hesitancy, any thought that possibly that the Steelers won. The other one, and this is going further into the weeds, Jalen Warren is returning for the Steelers, and Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator for the Steelers, loves to call up run plays, and he's only had access to Najee Harris thus
Right.
far. Jalen Warren is the, I believe, preferred running back that Arthur Smith would want to use. So I think that those would be the only two reasons why I see a Steeler win in this
Yeah.
environment.
So, Scott Engel of rotorballer.com and Seahawks.com also writes for The Athletic and Sportsline.com and is inaugural member of the Fantasy Sports Writers Association Hall of Fame and the most patient, wonderful guy in the world to deal with our garbage.
Bless you.
Sorry about that, Scott.
I hereby decree all across the land new phone lines.
That's right.
So, thanks for joining us, Scott. We apologize for that. I was just
No problem.
I was just
It
telling
happens.
these guys why the Steelers are going to win today, but they're both mad at me for saying it. So,
Well, you know, the Jets are the Jets, so anything can happen. Usually not good, but, you know, I don't like Russell Wilson, you know, going against that defense. You know,
Right.
he's not as mobile as he used to be, as we both know. And he's got one receiver that's been up and down, you know, going against that Jet secondary. I just don't see how the Steelers can win without Justin Fields in there.
Well,
Yeah, Ralph.
Jeez. Well, Scott, I'm curious. Speaking of the Jets and Steelers, what does the inclusion of Jalen Warren to this game mean for you from a fantasy perspective? I know Najee Harris has been something of a bell cow while he's been out, but this will be week 2 that Jalen Warren's available. Do you see a switch in that backfield of production?
Just in the interest of time, since I came on late, what does Jalen Warren mean to me fantasy wise? Nothing.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that Steelers backfield you avoided for fantasy purposes most cases.
I'm curious.
I don't know if you heard what happened to Najee Harris. They drew an end zone on his door this week, and he couldn't get in his house.
I love it. That's awesome.
Well, speaking of running backs who might be on a 1-week relevancy list, I always say his name wrong. Chuba Hubbard seems to have a tasty matchup this week against Washington's mediocre defense. Do you think that this week he will be productive, even in spite of Jonathan Brooks having some practice?
Yeah, Jonathan Brooks is not going to be active today, so I'm not concerned about that. Chuba Hubbard is a top 10 fantasy running back for me on rotobowler.com today. My weekly lineup ranks, and Chuba Hubbard, you got to lock him into your fantasy lineups.
Do you think Brian Robinson, I know right now he's questionable. I think he's leaning towards he will be playing. But do you think him and Austin Eckler will be in enviable matchups against Carolina's rush defense that is 32nd in the league, but dead at the bottom?
Yeah, it's been so bad they might as well be 33rd. So, Robinson trending towards playing last I saw. You get him in there. Eckler's a deeper play, because you never know what his workload is going to be, but I like him as a flex.
Isaac Guerrero was a pretty popular pickup this week with waiver wires, but now with Jordan Mason playing, is there a way and a route that both running backs are playable, or is it just Jordan Mason?
pretty much just Jordan Mason. He's been cleared. He's off the injury report. Not saying Garendo can't have a role, but I really don't expect him to have much of a role.
Kareem Hunt is somebody who fantasy managers have been able to find value in with Isaiah Pacheco down in IR, but he has on paper, a very difficult matchup against the San Francisco 49ers rush defense. Do you think that he has good fantasy value this week and should be a starter, or would you keep him on the bench?
Yeah, I wouldn't bench Kareem Hunt. That
Well, he wouldn't bench Kareem Hunt, that's for sure. Well, I got to say, though, I agree with him. I mean, it's... Oh, sorry.
What is that? The wind blowing in from Candlestick Park or something?
That's the autumn wind is a raider. That's what that is.
Oh, yes. In the golden years of the San Francisco 49ers, Isaac Garendo used to hit defenders with force. He was a mean son of a bitch. He would hit his mother if she was trying to tackle him.
That's perfect. That is, I feel like John Facenda was on the line just now. It's fantastic.
Under gray flannel skies, they tried to call Scott with no avail.
And yet, here they are.
Yes.
Ralph's having a moment here. You have to pardon him. He's dying of laughter over
Scott,
here.
man. He's on it.
Oh, it's
dude.
so great. The NFL Films days, those are great, man.
Yes.
All right, so start...
They are. You ever listen to the soundtrack? Like, you can hear the whole soundtrack.
I bought the soundtrack when it came out back in like 97, 98. Yes.
Well, speaking...
Poor Phil.
I know. I'm trying to run a fantasy segment here, and you guys are... No, I'm kidding.
We're just hijacking it. It's great.
It's totally fine.
Well,
Kareem
we're
Hunt-
talking fantasy, but we got to make it fun, you know?
Absolutely, of course. Speaking of fantasy here, Zach Moss and Chase Brown are in a committee, but it's seeming to line up more with Chase Brown taking over the Cincinnati backfield. Is he the running back you want, or would you be able to play both running backs in this matchup?
Brown's the one with more upside, and I expect him to get in the end zone. Moss is still getting a lot of work, but Brown has more upside. And, I'm an editor and writer. When people say committee and it involves two running backs, it's a pet peeve of mine. Have you ever been on a two-man committee? No. So, to me, that's a timeshare.
A timeshare. Oh, I love it.
I like this. We're gonna start calling it a timeshare.
All right. On the other side of the field is potential comeback player of the year, Nick Chubb. Would you be able to play him this week confidently, or do you think that he will be limited in touches?
Yeah, I don't think you can be comeback player of the year when you play just half the year. And, he's going to be in like preseason / training camp mode. So I'd avoid playing Nick Chubb today.
With Tampa Bay last week putting a mollywhopping on the Saints, which seems to be in vogue this year, people might be tempted to play Sean Tucker, who had himself a day last week against the Saints. But with Rachaad White coming back this week from injury, we think. I guess my question is, which is the running back that you want to play this week if you are forced to play one of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here, Scott?
Yeah, Tucker rolled up some really good numbers in some extended garbage time last week. If you check out my lineup spotlights on rotobowler.com today, I talk extensively about this. Irving is the guy I want. He's a special running back, makes defenders miss, breaks tackles, has tremendous balance. But that's a tough matchup today against that run defense of Baltimore, which ranks first in the league. I'll take Irving, but I'm certainly not playing Tucker.
Are you at all scared to play Mike Evans this week with how much of a medical procedures he's gone through in order to get to be able to play in this game and coming off of a bad game last week because of that injury?
No, because he's off the injury report. If the team clears him to play, I clear him to play for my fantasy lineup.
Let's go straight to where your heart is over there, Scott. DK Metcalf has a difficult matchup, seemingly, against that secondary of Atlanta. Are you at all worried that he will be outtouched or outpaced by any of those Seattle Seahawks other wide receivers that make up the core that would otherwise be in an advantageous position if they weren't facing Atlanta?
No, Atlanta's not a shutdown pass defense. I'm expecting a high-scoring game, and I'm all in on the Falcons on the other side. I mean, Ralph knows just how decimated the Seahawks secondary is with injuries. And Darnell Mooney's a great play today.
Well, it looks like we're going to go one more week, Scott, without either of the name places of the Los Angeles Rams wide receiver core, I guess, because it's not a timeshare when we're talking about wide receivers. But Cooper Kupp will probably not be playing this week. For one more time, Scott, which is the wide receiver that you want out of the Los Angeles Rams, if any?
I would say Tutu Atwell for the most upside, and maybe Jordan Whittington for the best floor in terms of receptions.
If it looks like Anthony Richardson is starting at quarterback this week, which it is Michael Pittman a play for you here, Scott, or do you stay away from any and all of the Miami-Indianapolis Colts game?
I don't stay away from it, and it all depends on who you have, as with anything else. Two defenses that are shaky here. Like Tyler Goodson is like a sleeper value type of play against a Miami run defense that ranks 30th in fantasy points allowed to running backs. I'm not big on Pittman. On the other side, you got to play a chance. The Indianapolis defense isn't too good. And Tyreek Hill has upside, but he's got no floor as long as Tyler Huntley's in there quarterback.
We talked about him earlier in the show as it was probably amongst the big news of the week. But Amari Cooper makes his debut in Buffalo this week, Scott. What can fantasy managers expect this game and perhaps even season long from Amari Cooper in a new dig and new uniform?
I would expect limited touches today. New team, first time playing with them. I don't think you can expect a lot. Maybe he gets a touchdown, maybe he gets 4 receptions, something like that. It's not like Devontae Adams. I mean, Devontae Adams, when he picked up the Jets playbook this week, I'm sure he said, "Oh, this is the same Packers playbook from 2020." So it's a lot of times when a wide receiver gets traded mid-season, the production we've seen go down. I don't think that happens with Adams as much as it happens with Cooper, but Cooper's been traded so much.
Yeah.
You wonder what's going on there.
I'm going to talk about the game and the side that nobody wants to, but apparently it's official. Mason Rudolph is going to be starting for the Tennessee Titans. Does that bring any CPR value, any like resuscitation value at all to Calvin Ridley? Can you play him, or are you still like benching him / cutting him for the hottest waiver wire pickup?
I wouldn't cut him, but he's been on the bench, and he's staying on my bench in like 3 of my leagues. I don't like the matchup. Mason Rudolph injects a little bit of life into that offense to maybe where it helps Tony Pollard, but DeAndre Hopkins no longer a quality fantasy option. I'm trying to avoid most of this Tennessee offense.
David Njoku seems to be the only pass catcher you would want out of Cleveland now. Is that true? Is that, Scott, is that the only player that you would possibly play out of this Cleveland offense, or would you even stay away from David Njoku?
They're going to throw to anybody. It'll be Njoku and Jerry Jeudy, who's now the number 1 wide receiver for Cleveland. I played him on DraftKings today at $4,800. Maybe Jeudy can post some decent numbers. He's been a bust, but I feel bad for the people of Cleveland. Like after watching that happen to the Guardians last night, now they got to watch the Browns the next day, which is even more depressing. And like the team is punishing Deshaun Watson. Well, we'll teach you a lesson. We'll keep you starting, and then we'll trade Amari Cooper too. It's really bad in Cleveland. They're waiting for basketball season to start.
Yeah,
and that doesn't look great. By the way, I got my second fantasy basketball draft tomorrow night.
Ooh, who's the number 1 pick over there, Scott?
It'd probably be Jokic. No, actually, Wembanyama went number 1 overall in the draft I was in last week.
Wow.
Yeah, he's gained 25 pounds.
Yeah, pure muscle, nothing but. Well, I think
Yeah,
about
right.
pure
muscles.
Yeah, I had a pretty good draft. So I was able to get Karl Anthony Towns in the second round after getting SGA from OKC in the first round.
One of our last
Damian Lillard in the third.
Oh, very nice. One of our last questions here, Scott. Mark Andrews not only caught a pass, which I think is monumental news, but he also caught a touchdown last week. Incredible. Can you make heads or tails of this Baltimore tight end room? Is it likely? Is it Mark Andrews? Is he back in value, or are you just trying to sell high, maybe get a last minute trade in before next week for Mark Andrews?
Well, yeah, it's only 35 minutes. You know, people focus on their lineups. Kind of hard to trade at this point, but he's a good start this week. Top 10 at tight end for me on
Top 10?
Rotoballer.
Wow.
Yeah, because Tampa Bay, I think, is about fourth worst in fantasy points per game allowed to tight ends. This is the best Baltimore offense we've seen in the Lamar Jackson era. I also write for Advanced Local, and you can check it out on my my Twitter page. It's at Scotty the King, the X page, whatever you want to call it. I did a comprehensive guide to Super Bowl odds from NJ.com, and Baltimore. You have to look at the fact when you're talking betting here. I'm not talking fantasy, but only 3 times has the same team met in the Super Bowl the next year. You know, the same pair of teams, and no team has ever three-peated. So, you know, the odds are saying, you know, okay, it's going to be Kansas City with San Francisco. But in both fantasy and betting, we got to look forward, not backward. This is the best Baltimore offense we've ever seen with Lamar Jackson, having Derrick Henry with him there and Zay Flowers emerging as a true number one. You know, the Ravens have a really strong case to make a Super Bowl run. I would check out my article and bet a future on the Ravens to win the AFC and maybe win the Super Bowl.
Wow, it's a big one. All right, last one here. Do you want to talk about Pat Freiermuth or Travis Kelce here, Scott? We can go either way.
Probably Kelce. I mean, he's gonna start him. Freiermuth though is more interesting though, because if there's one thing the Jets still play like that sort of cover 3 Seattle shell. If they're still doing that, and that's always good for the opposing tight end.
Okay, so that's always good. But Travis Kelce,
but Russell Wilson doesn't throw to his tight end a lot too, so that's a problem.
He might
Ralph
now, though.
knows this.
Yeah, I mean, he never has. You're right. I'm really curious to see how he does today. Should be interesting. I think he's playing for his football life at this point.
Yeah, it's not even career. Yeah, it's his career now.
Right.
Fields hasn't been terrific, but he's more of a threat with his legs.
Yeah.
Here's the real question for today. You think the Seahawks have a chance?
Well, you know, there's always a chance if you're not Cleveland or New England, but
There's always a
Yeah.
chance.
you know,
That's
it's going to be an uphill battle. But you know, it's kind of hard to read. Like if this was a Pete Carroll team, you know, we would say, you know, he's got his troops all motivated to bounce back, but there's just so many injuries on defense against an offense that's loaded with playmakers.
Yeah, that's true. And here, the very last question, and we'll let you go. What happens with the Mets today?
Okay, I'll say it for a while. Look, the Mets have a chance because, you know, they got their best pitcher, Sean Manaea, going against the Dodgers with a bullpen game. And, you know, the Mets have shown they're incredibly resilient throughout the season. You know, bouncing back adversity time and time again. That said, the Dodgers are the best team in baseball. They just have no weakness, it seems like, to the point where, like, I'm not the type of negative Met fan who, you know, and there's so many negative of them, but when the Mets were up 10-2 in Game 5 and it came 10-6, I was like, uh-oh, because the Dodgers are just that good.
Yeah.
The Mets have to keep laying the offensive hammer on, because if you get into the Dodger bullpen, you're in trouble. You get into the Met bullpen, you always have a chance. But you know, we've seen this team when the Mets historically have gone deep into the playoffs and had a shot to the World Series. They always overcome expectations. It's what we call here in Queens, New York, Met magic. And that Met magic hasn't quite worn out just yet.
All right. I think my mom would agree with you. She was from Queens, and she's a huge Met fan, so.
Is it Met magic or is it Grimace magic?
It's a combination.
Well,
now.
Grimace is enhancing
It's a combination
the
of
Met magic.
both.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
He is. And I knew I liked you. Seahawk fan and your mom is a Met fan. We must be long
There you
lost
go.
siblings.
There you go. All right, Scott Engel of rotorballer.com and Seahawks.com also writes for The Athletic and Sportsline.com. He's an inaugural member of Fantasy Sports Writer Association Hall of Fame, and he is the king. Scott, thanks so much. We'll see you again next week, and have a great day of football.
All hail.
You too, fellas. Let's go Mets.
Bye, Scott.
Yeah, not going to get behind that one, but I think he's right, though, about the Mets. I know this isn't the baseball show, but it's postseason. The Mets are scary.
They're getting their butts kicked today.
They didn't get there. Yeah. I don't know.
Dodgers close it out tonight. All right.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm still taking the Steelers. I think you guys are you're not looking at the Steelers.
No, you're taking the Jets.
No, I'm taking the Steelers. The Steelers defense is going to be the factor in this game. You got to remember that's a great Steeler defense too. And we got Mike Tomlin, and they always overachieve. That's just what they do. So I think they win this game.
You know what's going to be fun? What's going to be fun is I love when Ralph is so confident, and then after the fact, he's so wrong. I love that.
But he'll fall on his sword for it.
I just love. Well, no, he commits to the bit. Like he sells out.
Like I kind of felt guilty even bringing up the Giants winning.
There's
because he was just like, yeah, because we're awful. And I'm like, oh well.
There's no half measures here, Ralph. All right, we got two games left.
Measure
to pick.
this. All right, so here we go. We have the Lions are set to face the Minnesota Vikings in Minneapolis. This is a 10 a.m. game. Get the Lions at 4-1.
Yes. Best game of the week, I think.
Just dominated the Cowboys 47-9, and you got the Vikings who were unbelievable 5-0. I think they won their game against the Jets in London during Week 5. So
they did.
The Lions will be without Aiden Hutchinson, who's gone for the year with that awful injury. If you guys saw that injury,
Yes,
that
I
was
did.
just
They said he might return, like if they make it to the Super Bowl.
Not a chance.
I
Not a
don't see
chance.
it. The way that leg wrapped around the other. Oh, that was just
not a
disgusting.
chance.
So odds right now, Vikings are currently favored by 1.5 as of yesterday. I don't know what it's at today.
Same.
Still 1.5. Neil, who do you got?
All right. So a couple things. First of all, we know that for the Vikings, T.J. Hawkinson, their tight end, has been ruled out, they actually elevated Robert Tonyan, a former Packer, off the practice squad. They were stashing him there apparently, and they bring him back. And obviously, without Aiden Hutchinson, the Detroit defense is going to have to rely on Aleem McNeil and the interior line to create pressure because the Vikings ends are pretty solid. So they're going to have to figure out, go through the middle if they're going to get pressure on the quarterback. But let me talk directly to the Vikings fans out there. Okay, y'all are 5-0. And I know you're super excited. You think you've got a lot of momentum coming into this game against arguably one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NFL right now. Especially after the absolute curb stomping they put on the Dallas Cowboys. Shellacking. So, Vikings fans, let me remind you of something. Do you remember the last time you went 5-0? You remember that? It was 2016. Who was your quarterback? It was Sam Bradford, right?
Oh gosh.
You went 5-0 in 2016 and you missed the playoffs. Okay? So, just cuz you're 5-0 don't mean anything, and your demise starts today. You will lose your first game against the Detroit Lions in your own house. And I guarantee you that if Dan Campbell has any animosity or any bone to pick with you, it's going to come out in this game. So, sorry, guys.
True Packer fan.
You are absolutely getting destroyed. The Vikings are getting destroyed by the Lions. Oh, no, I shouldn't say destroyed. It'll be a closer game than not, because what'll happen is the Lions will get up by a bunch, and then the Vikings will manage to find a way to come back and make it close. So the score will be a lot closer than the game itself will be. But I do think that the Lions are going to dominate this game.
So you're taking Detroit?
I'm taking
All
the
that to say.
Detroit Rock City.
All right, Phil.
Bunch of knee biters. I don't have.
I'm sorry, ankle biters.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, you do bite.
No, it's kneecaps. Yeah, you bite the kneecaps.
Kneecap biter. Okay.
I don't have as big of a list. I don't know this division as well as Neil, but I will go with the Lions as well. We'll end up on the same point. I think that these two teams are going to split, and I think it'll be the away teams taking it. The Vikings do come off of a bye, but it was a London bye, so I think they're still a little shaky. And I think that the Lions are going to be reinforced by the Aiden Hutchinson loss. It's one of those where you play better without the talent for just a moment until you don't.
Yeah.
I think that the Lions will. The Vikings need to take advantage of the Lions' deficiencies in their secondary. And Sam Darnold, look, he's He's going to change at some point. I don't think anybody believes that he's this good. I just don't know when it's going to happen, and I think that this might be the first moment that we get a glimpse of that. The Brian Flores defense for Minnesota and the Vikings was kind of exposed by the Jets by the second half. They kind of made that comeback.
Right.
And Aaron Rodgers, in that offense, I don't see as this great functioning engine that should be the ones to discover the everything for the Vikings. So I think that the Lions win this game. I think that it evens out the division. I think that I don't know if it's the descent into non-playoffdom that Neil is predicting, but I will at least take the Lions.
Well, let me rephrase that. It might, but again, Vikings fans have nothing to be optimistic about at this point. You're 5-0, that's great, but
you are 5-0, but gosh darn it, you remember your place. You're at the bottom of this division in our hearts and in our minds, damn you.
All right, so we can't tell who the Packer fan is
Yeah,
here.
no kidding. The hoity-toityness to my right, and Scott just left. I mean, I would have thought, golly.
So, to me, in this game, you have a strength on strength, right? So the Lions' offense, which is averaging about 30 points a game, they're clicking in all facets of their offense. They look really good against a Viking defense that has been arguably one of the best defenses in football this year.
agreed.
So that's going to be a very interesting matchup to watch. You know, can the Lions break through against this defense? Now, the Lion defense, Aiden Hutchinson's a huge loss.
Yes.
That's bigger than most people even think.
Yes.
The guy
Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, by
at the
far.
time that he left.
He's a disruptor, and they're going to lose that, which is going to give Darnold and guys like Darnold a little more time to do things. I remember when Seattle played him, Hutchinson, he didn't get any sacks, but he was in Smith's face by every game. Every play was in his face. So you're not going to have that as much now. I think that's a big impact. That gives the Vikings a little bit of an edge and probably gives Darnold a little bit more time to do something. I so badly want to take the Vikings because I feel like they're going to keep the train going. But I think this is their loss. I think this is their first loss of the year. 5-1 is a great start. I wouldn't be surprised if they win this game. I really wouldn't.
Yeah.
But
I
I'm
think
going to
so.
trust. I'm going to trust the Lion offense more than I am going to trust the Viking defense at this point. But I'm going to tell you right now, if the Viking defense shuts down this offense,
You're buying into the Vikings.
I'm already bought into them. But I think we're looking at a team that's got a real good shot at being in the Super Bowl with that kind of a defense.
I will tell you right now.
So I'm just saying. I know you're a Packer fan.
That team is an MFer.
I know you're a
Anyway.
Packer fan, but if this defense can shut down the Lions, I think the rest of the NFC is in trouble. I really do.
Yep. No, I actually agree with you. I know that my bias shows all the time, but again, having lived
It's
there
showing
for
right now.
having
As we currently
that was
sit
a
here.
rash.
having lived there for 25 years, I do feel emboldened to be like that. But the fact is, yeah, I think you're right. The thing is, they have, and this is why I'm concerned. They have an opportunity. They are on the precipice of greatness, and I just don't know if they've got it in them. That's what it
We're gonna
comes
find
down
out.
to. Yeah, I think I do agree with you on all your points. I think we'll find out today. I'm still picking the Motor City Kitties, but if everything you say is true about the Vikings, then yeah, it's crazy. They're
We'll watch.
they're Super Bowl
We'll
favorites.
know by halftime. We'll see how that defense is doing by halftime. We might know by the end of the first quarter. All right, last game that we're going to pick. So we have the Chiefs playing the San Francisco 49ers over at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. This is a 125 game for us. Chiefs 5-0, another 5-0 team. They're coming off a bye week, I believe, if I remember right.
Yes. They played. It's a weird late bye week because they played a Monday night game from the
Right.
Falcons going
Right.
into the bye week.
And then we've got the Niners that are disappointing 3-3 with all their injuries and all their issues, but they are coming off a win against the Seahawks.
Oh, that's right.
It wasn't.
did win the
I wasn't
Seahawks.
impressed with the win. I think they should have beat them worse, but they did win. I really do. I think anybody right now should go and just destroy that Seahawks defense.
My man should have beat me worse than he did. I deserved more.
As far as odds right now, I believe the Niners were a 1.5 favorite yesterday.
It's been fluctuating, but currently as we sit here, the San Francisco 49ers are favored by 2.
Okay, so 2. And the biggest player out for the Niners is our kicker. So Jake Moody's out. He's been out for 2 weeks,
Right.
though. And I think Ricky Pearsall, the rookie, he was saying he might play today.
Yeah, probably be playing in limited snaps. I know Juwan Jennings is usually in the third receiver role, so he'll probably be sliding into that role.
And I know on the other side, Juju Smith-Schuster is questionable.
Yeah, it just popped up. Yeah,
Yep.
don't know.
He has a
really
hamstring
know.
injury.
Yeah, don't really know how that'll affect him.
So we'll see if he plays or not. So there we go. Who do you got, Phil?
I think it's outrageous that in this current iteration and this current vision of the Chiefs in their current mode, that they could ever be underdogs. I think the fact that they somehow are the back-to-back defending Super Bowl champions and can still play the underdog card is outrageous.
I agree.
So the fact, and then also be to this team that they just beat last year with pretty much the same entire roster, I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs. And I'm not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe that is picking against Brady during the Super Bowl reign, where it's like, okay, fine, I'm not that bold, I'm not that brave, I'm picking the Chiefs. Prove me wrong.
Banana in the tailpipe.
It's a great reference.
I do love that.
You're Tony. Go ahead.
Oh, you want me to go now?
Yeah,
I'm
go
going to
ahead.
talk about the game
Go
and
ahead.
the fact that the Chiefs are going to be the only undefeated team after this week. Is that what you want me to talk about?
Yes, I do.
Amen.
So I'm going to do a little throwback pick. Here we go. You ready? You ready, Ralph?
I'm always ready.
I'm picking the Chiefs. No, I
remember that guy.
I think that, yeah, to your points, Phil's over here stealing my notes.
He saw your notes.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I
That's
agree.
why Neil thinks that I'm a legend, because I steal all of his points before he makes them. He's like, yeah, that's a good one.
You're so smart, Phil. All right. No, I agree. I think that the Chiefs.
I'm getting
the
flashbacks because you guys are fighting. Stop.
The fact that that you call this fighting, good grief. No, I agree. I think that the Chiefs have managed to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat many times this year. So they're proving their resilience and their ability to figure things out. So that, to me, that obviously you've got great personnel, but you also have great coaching, and they're bought into the system. And yeah, you're right. The fact that they're underdogs. Let me think of how to motivate the Chiefs anymore. Oh, I know. Make them underdogs against the team they beat last year for the Super Bowl. So I agree. It's a recipe. I think that I think Travis Kelce is going to have a fantastic game today. And I think that I think it'll be close. I don't think it's going to. I think it's going to be a field goal difference. But I do think that the Kansas City Chiefs will be victorious, and they will remain the only undefeated team in the NFL after this week.
Okay. I'm kind of with you. I think Mahomes is the most dangerous quarterback in the NFL. I don't care who he's playing at any week.
Mahomes or Auto?
Mahomes.
Womp womp.
Because he can do whatever he wants, it seems, at any point. I love the offense of the Chiefs. As far as the Niners, I feel like Brock Purdy, although he's having a good year, is starting to do some things that I don't like. I see that. I think in this game, there's a great opportunity for the Chiefs to get some turnovers. I really do.
Yeah.
They're not the strongest defense in the world, but I think against Purdy and with Andy Reid at coaching, I think they can throw some looks at him that can confuse him a little bit, and they can get him into some bad situations. And when you get any pressure on Purdy, he folds like a chair. I mean, he just
so
does.
you're saying the defense can be opportunistic.
Very
this game,
opportunistic.
is what you're saying.
For the Niners to win, they need to be able to run the ball. If they can dominate in the run game, that'll open
They
up
have a
for
chance.
Purdy to do some things, and that'll give them a chance to win this game. I don't think they can do that. I just don't. Not in this game.
Because they'll be going straight into the head and teeth of the defensive player of the year, Chris Jones. Chris Jones has been having a tremendous year.
He's a baller. So and I think that's the only way they win this game, and I don't think they can do that. So I think I'm going to take Mahomes, and I'm going to take the Chiefs, and I'm going to take Andy Reid because he's probably the best coach in the game right now, and he's going to be way better than Shanahan and what his game plan. I just don't like Shanahan. I think he's.
And we've made it through near an entire section talking about this without talking about Andy Reid coming off of a bye record that's going to be just plastered everywhere during this game, which is going to be 21-4 coming into this game of Andy Reid coming off of a bye against opponents. 21-4. He's money. He makes his hay with coming out the bye. That's a sign of a great coach. Go get it.
So for those of you who are watching the game, this is a good drinking game. Okay, the moment they flash that stat that Phil just talked about, you take a shot. And you can also take a shot every other time because they're going to flash it at least one or two more times during the broadcast.
Especially if they're winning. If they're winning, then they will flash a couple times. Like, this is Andy Reid. This is him coming off a bye. It's like, okay, all right.
That's
let's
like-
calm down.
Yeah.
So that's our picks. We'll see. We had 7 picks this week.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
Because Ralph
Can't go 6-0 this week, Neil.
Because Ralph isn't because Ralph isn't organized, so we had to do 7. So
You know what it is? I forgot about the Cardinal game because it's Monday night. I completely forgot about it.
Too
So
funny.
there's something that happened that I want to talk about. And we got a little bit of time left before the game start. The Brady being part owner of the Raiders.
Yes.
So I want to talk about that. I was looking at it from a different perspective. A couple things. Is it a good thing? Does it really even matter? Okay, those are my questions because what I'm hearing is people saying, well, he's such a great evaluator of quarterback talent that he's really going to help the Raiders find that next quarterback. And I'm thinking to myself, the first thing I thought when I heard that was, well, John Elway was a great quarterback, and he was a terrible evaluator of talent.
Specifically for quarterbacks.
Right. He
Outside
was
of
horrible
quarterbacks,
at
he's
it.
good.
Because I think great quarterbacks have a tendency to be unrealistic in what they look for. Like, I thought that about Magic Johnson in basketball. Like, when he became a coach, I was like, you're not going to be a great coach because your expectations are unrealistic because you had a way of doing things, and most people don't do that. And I felt like Elway struggled with that, and I feel like Brady's going to have that same issue. Yep. So that was point one that I want you guys to answer, right? So
Yes.
let's go there first, and then I have another point. But go ahead. What do you think of it? Is this a big deal? Does it matter?
Well, to your point, the only great player that I can think of that has ever had a successful management or organizational role job is like Larry Bird. Larry Bird is probably the closest.
How about John Lynch with the Niners?
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Okay, there you go. That's
give you
probably
that.
the two.
But that's we've talked about this on the regular show before. Is the general issue that great players tend to not make great coaches. They can't do the transition for the reasons that Ralph said. Is that as an individual contributor, they had such high expectations for themselves that sometimes it's impossible to replicate that. That's why Magic Johnson wasn't a good coach. That's why Michael Jordan wasn't a good coach. One of it's very rare. It does happen, and Larry Bird is the perfect example to me of somebody who made the transition. You could argue that part of it was because Larry Bird wasn't naturally talented, but he worked his butt off.
That's the key to me.
Yeah.
I think that most of them overvalue within themselves what their natural ability was.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they put that expectation more so than work drive or anything else on the player, and then that's where it all gets funky. But to go specifically to Tom Brady to this, you're right. I think he gets a chance once you buy into the team. I think and plus you're being the greatest quarterback ever, and you've always been doubted for anything. I think that he's even now doing a fine job as a reporter. But I think if you have that resource, I'd rather have and utilize that resource than not to evaluate, to be like, you know what, this upcoming year, it's actually a kind of a wonky year. There's no Caleb Williams. There's no given set, like forget it and set it. I'm going to draft him number 1 overall.
Right.
This year, you've got kind of actually a really hard decision at Carson Beck. I don't believe in Shedeur Sanders. I like, but I don't like the off the field stuff.
I don't like everything around him. Right?
Yeah, I don't like everything around him. So I'm like, I would like to hear what Brady has to say about that. And then I think there's another third one that I'm. Oh yes, the guy from Miami. I'm forgetting his name, but
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
but anyways, he's probably the other one that's in contention for number 1 pick. So when you have a hard decision, I want all the resources and tools available at my disposal to use. I don't know that I'll necessarily use that as like my defining thing of like Shedeur Sanders. What do you think, Brady? Okay, that's why we're going with it. And then the scouts being like, no, you don't go. I wouldn't use just Brady.
Yeah, I think we'll see, right?
Right.
The track record for great players being great coaches or great managers is very small it's very bad, in general. There are only a few that break through. And it's like, you think about Bill Belichick. Guy hardly played football at all, and yet he's the greatest coach of all time, arguably.
You look at
one
the
of
greatest GM
coaches
of all time, Jerry Jones. I mean, he played only a little. Oh wait, sorry. I was thinking about.
I was thinking more like Ron Wolf with the Packers, but yeah, you could maybe put Jerry Jones in there if you're pathetic, but whatever.
Don't be surprised if Belichick's not coaching the Raiders next year. So let's talk about Brady as an analyst.
He just crop dusted that. He just dropped it and walked away.
I dropped it and walked.
I've never even
surprised if
You got to think about it.
Belichick's a Brady said
I
he's
had to
gone.
think about that one. Yeah, that was.
You got to think about it. So
He's not. You know what? If I were Belichick, I would stay as far away as he's got.
He
great
wants to
gig.
coach.
I know he wants to coach.
He wants that Don
but he's-
Shula record, is what he wants.
Oh, he wants. Yeah, that's
And he
true.
wants to get away from his 23-year-old girlfriend. So anyway, and I don't blame him because she probably talks his ear off, and he's like, "Go away."
What do you mean ticketed talk?
Less talky.
One more thing about Brady. Okay, so here's Brady. So Brady's the analyst now, right?
Right.
Here's some of the rules now that he has signed this agreement. He's not permitted in another team's facility. He's not permitted to witness practice. He's not permitted to attend broadcast production meetings either in person or virtually. He's prohibited from publicly criticizing game officials and other clubs. He's subject to the NFL gambling policy, and he's subject to the NFL's anti-tampering policy. This guy just signed the largest broadcast contract in history. Is this guy a genius? He basically can't do the job he's getting paid for. All these things that every broadcaster has to do, he cannot do. Yet he's making more than any other broadcaster out there. What a genius.
That's interesting to think about
I
it.
didn't take it on that point.
Well,
That's very
because
good,
it's like if you're Fox, you're like, we just got fleeced, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
This guy just took us over a barrel on this one. Like he was,
did.
and yeah, it was brilliant. But it's like, I wonder if there's something in his contract that will change his pay based on if he becomes an owner, because this guy was thinking about it beforehand, right?
Oh, of course,
and I'm
everybody
sure
knew.
I'm
Brady's
sure
smart.
that he took that was taken into and here's the thing: if Fox knew that anyway, was like, yeah, we'll give you the same money, we don't care. Shame on them. Someone at Fox has got to get fired for letting that deal go through. I have to imagine there's something contractually that's going to change his compensation or something if he becomes an owner of a team.
So if I'm looking at it from a Fox perspective, the one that I think matters the most to me is that you're not able to go and get those one-on-one interviews with like the head coach that I think Tony Dungy did with like Mike Tomlin, and they're talking about like breaking through. So he doesn't get to do that. And if I'm Fox, I'm most despondent about that.
Right.
But what I'm curious about, I think, as it pertains to his job specifically as an analyst and going through the game and as a commenter, I think the only one that really affected me in my version of seeing that would be him being unable to criticize the referees. That's like the biggest one, to where I'd say like I think that almost takes away a vast majority of his authenticity whenever you are specifically neutered to not talk about a bad call, to not talk about like, well, you know what, I that's a 50-50 call. I think that they would forgive. But if you're saying, like, as refs can do, as refs tend to do, one would say, make a bad flag and then not pick it up and say, well, we can't review that now. The fact that he can't say that, he has to look towards his partner and say, well, what would you make of that call? And possibly lean on it, I think takes away a lot of his gravitas, a lot of his authority, and partly why you hired him.
I agree, and I think for the person who might win out in all of this is Greg Olson, because he'll be like, I can come back to the number one spot. Go ahead, I'm available. I know he's not. But
I
I'm
just don't know how you do his job when you can't do it.
I agree.
He can't do his job.
Yeah, you literally. What's he going to do? Show up and just be the pretty face? And
If he was the play-by-play guy, I don't think any of us care. But he's not. He's
He's
the color
supposed to be
commentator.
able to say, I've talked to these players, I talked to these coaches, this is what's going
Is he?
on.
I don't know. I mean,
But that's what a lot of these guys do during the week. They meet with the coaches, they meet with the players, they stay at the facilities.
Yeah, what you say during the broadcast is based almost entirely on
conversations
your
you've had.
conversations.
No, but Tony Romo was not doing his job in that capacity for years, and
Well, 'cause he was
doing
drunk
just fine.
half the time.
Well, but he was fine for those first 2 years. I think the one thing that
Was
I can
he really?
No, I don't know that he was
No, I
drunk.
don't know.
I just feel like he was lazy. He was not working. But those first 2 years when he freshly came out of the league and had a leg up on everyone because he had to live in it and had that inherent knowledge to be like, oh well, we're gonna see a run up the gut here, and then sure enough there was a run up the gut. And now 4 years later he's like, it's a run up the gut, and it's a double wagon wheel, and he has no idea what's coming.
You
up.
know how the broadcasters spend the whole week with the team?
Here we
Yeah.
go,
And
Jim.
then they broadcast the game?
Yeah.
How genius is this guy? I'll see you on Sunday. He doesn't have to do anything during the week at the
And he,
facility.
not only that he doesn't have to, he can't.
He can't.
Right.
So basically, he just shows up on Sunday, does the game, and gets a paycheck. This guy's a genius.
I want to
man.
do that.
He's a genius.
I want to do that.
I'm
I want
just
to.
saying.
I
And
want
he
to
gets
show
the
up to
best of
this.
both worlds.
But that's the thing. That's kind of like me here. I show up here, and I put zero effort in, and I still get a paycheck.
You get a paycheck.
Oh wait, I don't get a paycheck.
You get a delicious coffee, is what you get.
Okay.
Oh no, that's good. Yeah, actually, this is totally worth it.
One
right
last
here.
thing, and then we'll go. I saw this, and I wanted to get your guys' opinion on this.
Blue.
I looked at the top 5 worst NFL coaching hires of all time, and I want your reaction to this.
Okay.
Number 5 was from the Bengals, David Shula. He was 19-52 when he was head coach. So Don Shula's son.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a name pick, and that didn't work.
That was a
out.
name pick. Number 4 from the Browns, Hugh Jackson, 336-1,
Hugh Jackman.
and he was also winless in 2017.
I didn't know Wolverine
I
was.
feel
the
like that
head
was
coach.
an organizational decision to peter out. So I can't put that directly on Hugh Jackson. That's
Still.
that's my thought.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Winless season in 2017.
I know, but
was
that's
exciting.
You know, whenever they gave you what they gave him.
Here's where it gets fun. Number 3 from the Falcons, Bobby Petrino. He was 3-10 and he quit.
That was so bad.
Bobby
That was
Petrino?
so
But that was
bad.
that was the best because that was entertainingly bad.
Oh, it was. That's
That
true.
was
yeah.
that was the
Petrino-
tire fire on the side of the freeway that everybody's like stopping and you're like, what is with all this traffic? Oh,
that
I
is
get it now
exactly.
because
Petrino
that's so.
was such a.
He
that
had
was-
no clue what he was doing.
That was so bad.
Such a good college coach.
He was so loud and wrong. Yeah, you remember he
loud and wrong. I love that.
He coached Lamar Jackson, like
Yeah.
a great college coach. To your point,
He was. Okay, here's this. We're going to hit Phil at home. Number 2 for the Broncos, Nathaniel Hackett, 4-11.
God. Oh God, that was atrocious. Whenever you saw every week, You see the ineptitude this year with the Jets, and then just make that bigger because he's our head coach, and we can't. You know, all you can do is fire him, but you can't fire him year one, or else you look like a disorganized organization.
He was bad.
Awful.
He had no clue what he was doing.
You brought in a head coach for another quarterback. You bring in another quarterback, and you're wondering why it didn't work. Oh my God.
The number one is a guy with the fourth shortest tenure in NFL history, probably most controversial guy for the Jags, 2-11, Urban Meyer.
Urban Meyer. I knew you were going to say Urban Meyer. He is hands down the top of the list.
Right?
The
I think so,
absolute
too.
worst.
Wasn't it true? He didn't know. I forget which player it was, but I want to say it was Aaron Donald. He had no idea who that was.
He had no idea.
And
He
I
had
think
no
they were
idea
playing
who-
him the next
he-
week.
He tried to take all of his college stuff into the pros, and none of it worked.
Nope.
And he got frustrated, and he just started doing dumb stuff. And it's like when you are worshipped and revered, when you can go to any restaurant in your town and get head under the table. I mean, you can get free stuff from people. like when you can murder somebody and the local police will cover it up. That's hard. That's hard to replicate elsewhere.
He did have a little side action, didn't he?
So yeah. So for him, when he did that, it's like right now, like I'm kind of surprised to see him do well. He's like doing, was it College Game Day? Like he's functioning all right.
Which is surprising.
Yeah, he's doing okay, but maybe he went to rehab. Maybe he's better now. I don't know. But yeah, that was okay. So real quick before we go, tell me a college coach that did make the transition successfully. That's not named Jim Harbaugh.
Well, it's the Cowboys coach. Why can't I? Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah.
Jimmy Johnson was that's a
The
great
best. He's
example.
the best.
Yes,
That's
great
really-
example.
Pete
I was
Carroll.
going to say Carroll.
Pete
Johnson,
Carroll did a
and Harbaugh.
fantastic job. Yeah, okay. So it is possible, but
Just not very often.
Urban Meyer.
It's about once a generation.
Whereas if Petrino was a tire fire on the side of the freeway, Urban Meyer was an entire building engulfed in flames. So
Yeah.
Didn't Nick Saban fail with the Dolphins?
Nick
Yes, he
Saban
did.
failed with the Dolphins. The other one is the one who replaced Jimmy Johnson.
Oh, yes. The guy from Oklahoma.
Yeah, he's the one who he's the other one that
can't
whenever
think
you
of
look
his
at the trivia
name.
questions of
he was
who's
terrible.
won but he's won a championship in college and in the
See,
NFL.
now we're looking it up online
Yeah.
because we forgot his name.
Yeah, but he's
Barry
the-
Switzer.
Barry
That's who
Switzer.
it was. Switzer. I
Terrible,
remember.
terrible pro coach.
Terrible.
One off of Jimmy's players.
All
All
right,
right, kids.
so that's our show. Hey, we are back on air next week with at 1580 The Fanatic and 99.3 FM. Phil will be back in studio.
Where he belongs.
I'll be the voice in the background.
voice and the soothing voice. So this is the longest we've gone. We're just about at 10 o'clock. Games are about to start here in 2 minutes. What are you looking forward for? What are you looking forward to today? Real quick.
I'm looking forward for the Lions breaking the Vikings' hearts.
Real quick. Oh, yeah. I'm going to go with the Giants-Eagles game. I want the Giants to win. Please, I don't think that they will, but oh my gosh, I want to see that Nick Sirianni firing. I would need it. I want it. I demand it.
I'm willing it into existence.
I exude it. I want it to fume out. Oh, please, I secrete it.
I'm looking forward to the Raider game. Anyway,
You're the only one.
the only one. I'm not looking forward to anything today. I'll tell you that right now. I'm looking forward to the Dodger game tonight. All right, so that's our show. Hey, enjoy Sunday. Have a great football Sunday. Hopefully your teams do well. And as you know, if they don't, that's your problem and you suck. So we talk about that every week.
As you know out there.
We'll see you all again next week. We're back on the air at 1580 99.3 The Fanatic. We'll be on X, Facebook, and YouTube next week as well. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.